All right, 1:35, we're going to call our meeting to order. First off, we can have the roll call. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Brand. Councilmember Brandow. Councilmember Caprilio. Councilmember Olivier. Councilmember Quintero. Okay, thanks. Councilmember Soria. She's here.
Here.
President Baines.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We will now have our invocation by Pastor B.T. Lewis of the Rising Star Baptist Church. If everyone can please stand and remain standing. Immediately following our invocation, we will salute the flag.
Thank you again for this opportunity. Let us pray. Dear God, our eternal Creator, we come this afternoon, God, thankful for your mercy and for your grace. Thankful, Master, for the dawning of this, a new day that the world has never seen before. And God, in this chamber, we thank you for each council person on this dais. We thank you, God, for every staff person. And we thank you, Master, for every citizen in this place. We pray, Master, for their families. We pray, God, for every concern and every issue that they will face on this day. God, we pray that in keeping with Scripture, that you would help us to learn to do good, that you would help us to seek justice in every circumstance and in every situation. We pray that you would help us, Lord, to remove instances of oppression and poverty in our system. God, in the name of Jesus, we pray, God, that you would help us to speak for those that cannot speak for themselves, and that you would help us, Lord, to defend those that cannot defend themselves. Let the policy decisions made in this place be fair and equitable for every part of our city. Lord, we pray for their families. We pray, God, for their homes. We pray, God, for their lives in a personal and intimate way. We pray that you would touch every life in this place. Lord, that every person, Master, will experience your presence, your power, and your authority. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Face the flag. Ready. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, we'll now move into our ceremony and presentations. We have several this afternoon. First off, we have the presentation of the SPCA Pet of the Month by Councilmember Olivier.
Steve, I can't do this alone. You have to come with me. It's cats.
It should be noted that Councilmember Brandow has a very serious affinity for cats.
You like Full House? This is Mary, Kate, and Ashley, kitties. Steve and I are both proud cat owners, and so we're very happy to support what the SPCA is doing in our community and the good work that they're doing to find homes for animals. These kitties are how old? I'm going to let you do the talking. Talk to us about the cats and how folks can give them a home.
Cool. Well, they are 5 weeks old. These kitties are 5 weeks old, and they arrived at the shelter as strays. And what we need are foster homes for these two little ones, which in about 3 weeks they'll be available for adoption. So really it's just socializing them with your family, in your household, with your pets, making sure that they're healthy, of course, and away from the shelter, because it's kind of hard on these little babies that show up. All year round, we receive so many little kitties like this, and it's hard for us to find homes, of course, for every single animal that comes in. So if somebody out here is looking for kitties to foster for just a couple more weeks, we could definitely use your help. And we're open every day over there at the shelter from 10 to 5, and on Wednesdays 10 to 6.
And so to adopt how much?
To adopt these kitties right now, it's about $75, and of course it's an adoption package. You get your microchip, you get your spay, neuter, and a wellness visit over at our shelter. And we also cover 30 days of insurance over there, which $75 if anything happens to them, and we cover up to $750 worth of stuff. So it's really not a bad thing.
right. Well, thank you so much for bringing them here. And that one looks like it's at.
Can you take a picture of me and Ashley?
All right, we're going to do a quick picture, but folks, SPCA has got these kittens and lots of other homeless animals that need a place to live. So thank you. Said that.
All right, thank you, guys. Next up, we're going to have the proclamation of National Runaway Prevention Month, and I'll be presenting that. I'll come on down if we can have our friends from the ELC Sanctuary come on. All right, bear with us just a moment. We have a presentation.
My name's Tyler. I grew up in a home where my father was an alcoholic. My mom was addicted to heroin. My dad would get abusive. So I suffered through a lot of physical abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. When I turned 18, my mom kicked me out of the house, and I was homeless. I was sleeping around the corner from my house near a canal, sleeping on an abandoned couch for about a month and a half. And I basically made a choice that I was going to actually commit suicide. So I woke up one morning and went to my local drugstore to steal the pills that I needed to get the job done. And when I walked out of the store, I actually got arrested for petty theft. And that's one of the big moments in my life because I knew if I didn't get caught, I wouldn't be here today. And about a week later after that, I got the call that I was accepted into the program. I remember I started crying, and I told the lady on the phone that it was like one of the happiest moments in my life, and it still is. So I got picked up from my mentor with Focus Forward, brought to the TLC, the Sanctuary, and was welcomed right away, given everything I could need, from a toothbrush to a towel for a bed to sleep on. And since being in the program, I've actually become a sponsored boxer. The Fresno AOC SOS program goes out and finds local kids like myself who are struggling, in need, and may even be on the breaking point like I was, and they need help. And I think it's really important that it gets funded so that these kids can have food, have somewhere to sleep, and possibly another day to live.
Wow, so I didn't know that we were going to do that, and I don't have anything else to say. I think that says it all. And listen, I'd like you to introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about why this is important.
My name's Tyler. As stated in the video, I grew up in a home that was very unhealthy. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was addicted to heroin. So home was always the last place I wanted to be. So I started hanging out with the wrong crowd to stay out of home, which ended up getting myself into some trouble with the law. I've been in and out of juvenile hall around 7 times in my life. And while in juvenile hall, I got released and was immediately homeless. had nowhere to go, and it got so hard that I decided to take my own life, but got stopped in the process, and it's the only reason why I'm here today. But after that, I got into a program through a program that helped me out in juvenile hall called Focus Forward, and since then I've only gotten better, and like I said, I've become a sponsored boxer. Had a couple fights already, so it's fun. But this program really has changed my life and saved my life, and it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to a lot of other kids just like myself. This program has given me connections to jobs that I could need, to places that will help me out with food, anything that I could really need. And this program has basically given me another shot at life, and I couldn't be here without them.
I always get the distinct honor of presenting the proclamations to EOC, especially the sanctuary, because of all the great work that they do. Very rarely do we get the opportunity to meet the evidence of the work that they do. So I appreciate you sharing your story with us. We know that the work that we do in the Fresno community is great. We know that you all do great work, and the proclamation that we're going to present in a moment is for National Runaway Prevention Month. Sometimes we forget how many runaways we have in this country. Almost 3 million. Almost 3 million runaways a year. And I would suspect that a lot of them have stories like Tyler. And without a receiving agency on the other end to wrap their arms around them and tell them that they're loved and put them in connection with resources, a lot of these young people could be lost. So we're deeply grateful for the service that you all provide in our community, and I know I speak for my colleagues that thank you for sharing with us, because sometimes we need to be reminded, and this was that moment where we were reminded. So I want to turn it over to Joe and let you speak for just a moment.
Again, thank you, City of Fresno. Thank you, President Baines and council members. You heard one testimony today, Tyler. We also brought Joanne here. Joanne is also a resident within the Sanctuary Transitional Housing Program, and we also have dedicated staff such as Graciela, who does the work every day to make sure our young people have access to a safe place. Councilmember, you're right. 3 million kids every year run away in the nation. Here in the city of Fresno, it's estimated that 4,000 children, young people, are reported as missing. Many of these children are runaways, and kids leave home for all kinds of reasons, regardless of their income, social status, neighborhood, last name, it doesn't matter. Any child is at risk. And thankfully, there is a program like Sanctuary that operates the only shelter in the entire city, county, Central Valley, serving our young people. It operates transitional housing for homeless youth, 18 to 24, and we don't have to look very far to see that homelessness is all around us. And Sanctuary does provide a safe place for Tyler and Joanne so that they're able to become independent and thrive. And as you heard from Tyler's testimony, I asked Tyler, where were you 4 months ago? Mr. Martinez, I was locked up. I didn't have a future. I didn't even have hope. And then fast forward, Tyler's in transitional housing. He's back in school. And Tyler, I don't think I heard Tyler say that he also got admitted into the Navy. And so Tyler's doing things, and so is Joanne. Joanne is a student and attending college, and she's pursuing her dream and her future, and her hope has been restored as well. The other program we have is called Outreach to the Streets, known as SOS. Council member, we heard in September of this year that the program was notified that the funding was not refunded. In fact, there was no outreach program in the Central Valley that was funded. So we are asking for the public to save the SOS program, and they can do that by donating and texting to Save SOS, and we have information, and I'm going to give that to you, Council Member. So the program that's been saving kids on the streets needs saving. So we're here to share that with the public and let you know that you can get involved. And again, we want to thank the City Council for supporting the work of the EOC Sanctuary for over nearly 24 years. We have been a safe place for the children, not only in our city, but the county and the nation. So again, with that being said, on behalf of our CEO, Brian Angus, the director, Michelle Tatunjian, we also have other support staff in the audience as well. We thank you. Thank you for the work that you do to support us and providing the resources so that we can be a safe place for our children. Thank you, Councilmember.
Well, your words are much too kind to me. Our thanks really, we own all the thanks in this particular conversation. So I appreciate you giving me a sponsorship, and I'm going to be passing this sponsorship letter. I'm going to be passing these out to my colleagues. Obviously, I just found out yesterday that the program was not renewed for funding, but we know that we need this type of work done in our community. So I would definitely encourage our community to step up to the plate. Councilmember Soria.
I just wanted to add a little something. So as a former Fresno EOC commissioner, very proud of the work that you guys are doing. And I want to also similarly thank Tyler and then Joanne for being here, for being open and sharing your story. I want to thank also Joe Martinez. I know that he does a phenomenal job with the sanctuary and everything that you're doing to really uplift these young people and give them hope and give them an opportunity, another shot at life. So thank you so much for the work that you guys do for our young people in the city of Fresno.
Madam Clerk, will you read the proclamation?
Whereas the future well-being of our nation is dependent on the value we place on our young people, therefore we must provide opportunities for youth to acquire the knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to develop into healthy and productive adults, and enlist their families and other adults in the community to serve as mentors and role models, guiding them toward wise choices and available resources and supports. And whereas November is National Runaway Prevention Month, and in partnership with National Runaway Safeline and National Network for Youth, Fresno EOC Sanctuary and Youth Services is committed to protecting our nation's most valuable asset, our youth, and ending youth homelessness by 2020. And whereas Fresno EOC Sanctuary and Youth Services provides a continuum of care to assist runaway, displaced, and homeless youth with successful transition from adolescence to adulthood by operating an emergency shelter for youths in crisis, providing drop-in centers for homelessness and runaway youth, operating transitional living centers, and maintaining 270 safe place sites throughout the county to facilitate youth access to shelter and services. And whereas between 1.6 and 2.8 million youth run away in 1 year period, and law enforcement in the city of Fresno reports about 35 missing persons runaway cases per month, and the Department of Justice reports 3,884 children were reported missing in Fresno County in 2015. And whereas, if all of us work together, we can prevent the situations that compel youth to run away from home by teaching them awareness, stress management, communication skills, and providing resources. And whereas, the City of Fresno supports the efforts of Fresno EOC Sanctuary and Youth Services in working diligently to increase public awareness about, advocate on behalf of, and provide positive and safe alternatives to runaway and homeless youth and their families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and the members of the Fresno City Council proclaim November 2015 as National Runaway Prevention Month in the City of Fresno.
Next up, Council President.
National Apprenticeship Week.
That's exactly right.
I'm right here. See, I'm with you, Paul. I try to be efficient for my colleague right there. So listen, I need my friends from our apprenticeship programs to come on down from the building trades, along with my good friend Blake Consul from the WIB. We're going to talk about something that's always exciting to me, is when we talk about the workforce and when we talk about putting people to work, especially in our construction trades. listen, most of us know that a job as an apprentice, especially in the construction trades, and I know we may have some more industries here represented, but becoming an apprentice is so very important. It is the very first movement that a person has into a career, especially in the building trades. And we in Fresno aren't doing enough, but we're going to change that. We in Fresno aren't doing enough, but the president is saying that we need 430,000 more apprentices nationwide to really fill the needs of our moving economy, our emerging economy. And I want to turn the mic over to my friend today because the work that they do to train our people to move them into high-skilled, quality jobs is unbelievable. There really aren't any trainers like this anywhere. This is the creme de la creme of training, and we have them here in Fresno. So I'm going to be presenting a proclamation in just a moment on National Apprenticeship Week, but I know we have a couple people that deserve to say a few words on this topic. You first, Chuck.
There you go. Thank you, sir. And I want to thank you, Council President, and the Fresno City Council for this recognition, and thank the Obama administration for the National Apprenticeship Week. It has given us an opportunity to speak a little bit about apprenticeship and what it means. The gentlemen that are before us and right from the DAS, we represent apprenticeship. Most of us are products of apprenticeship and have been able to build a career and live within the middle class within Fresno County, Fresno, Madera, Tulare, and Kings. Rachel represents the DAS, and so the state is showing their support for our local apprenticeship programs, not only here locally but also statewide. Blake Consul is going to say a few words in a minute, and he works is the executive director for the Workforce Investment Board, who is very much a part of our apprenticeship programs in drawing down additional funding for this training. Briefly, why I mentioned the funding is our training is free training, or basically a person who goes through apprenticeship, once he turns out, has no student debt. It's one of the things that we are most proud of. Through our collective bargaining agreement, we self-fund all of our training. And I forget the number, maybe somebody can help me out here, but I think we equate to a top 10 school district in the nation. I mean, we're talking in the millions and millions of dollars. When you talk about apprenticeship across the nation, I believe it's in the billions of dollars that we contribute to apprenticeship training. I like to say, when I have an opportunity to speak, that apprenticeship is transformative. And I'll let you know personally that from Tuesday, when I heard Tyler's story, it got me thinking. To hearing it again today, Tyler is one of the people, or one of the guys we look for in apprenticeship. We could help Tyler. We could help guys like Tyler and men and women that are in that situation. We can bring them into apprenticeship and show them a pathway to the middle class and give them a career with health care and with a pension. And so I definitely appreciate the Obama administration as well as the Fresno City Council for recognizing what apprenticeship means. And far too long, it has been the best kept secret, not only in the state but also nationwide. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak on apprenticeship today. With that, I'll let Blake Consul say a few words.
Thank you, Council President Baines and Fresno City Council. Your WIB, we are a joint powers authority between you all at the city and the county of Fresno. We're happy to have Councilman Baines serve on our board of directors, in addition to Assistant City Manager Smith. We at your WIB are excited to help our local residents to take advantage of the immense opportunity created by the boom in public infrastructure construction. A lot of people don't know, we had a study done in 2010. Right now in the valley, there is $30 billion of approved public infrastructure construction occurring between 2010 and 2020. That's $30 billion exclusive of high-speed rail. If you want to know how big $30 billion is, that's a 3 plus 10 zeros. That's a lot of zeros. Okay. In partnership with the Fresno, Madera, Tulare, Kings Building Trades Council, we designed a 6-week multi-craft pre-apprentice training program that is the best preparation an unemployed person could have to compete for apprenticeship openings when they occur. We are providing results through this program. Rigorous WIB screening has led to a 98% completion rate for trainees and an 85% employment rate after training. In our business, those numbers are all home runs. This Fresno model, jointly developed by your WIB and the Building Trades Council, is being copied across all the other counties in the valley. We have new Fresno training cohorts starting in January and in March. And I should say that other valley cohorts are going to be ongoing through the first quarter of 2017. We really have to make sure that we take advantage of the window of opportunity that this construction is providing, and we're thankful to our partnership with organized labor and the city for making these opportunities available to our residents.
Thank you, Blake. I can't speak enough to that number, the 3 plus 10 zeros of all of the work that's going to be available here in our valley just in the construction trades. So it's an amazing number. It means that we have our work cut out for us. We've got to make sure that in our valley that our residents are the ones that are benefiting from all of those zeros. So, and I know that's what you all are here to do. So thank you all for coming down today and reminding us about how important apprenticeship training is and reminding us of the great opportunity that exists right here in Fresno. Madam Clerk, if we can read the proclamation, please.
Whereas President Barack Obama has proclaimed the week of November 2nd through 6th as National Apprenticeship Week and set a goal to increase today's 430,000 apprenticeships in the United States over the next 5 years, focused on all industries including construction, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, information technology, transportation, and energy. And whereas National Apprenticeship Week recognizes that apprenticeships mirror the burgeoning opportunity our industries and employers have to build a pipeline of skilled workers that ensure America remains as a global leader in innovation, production, and the ability to develop the best trained, most highly skilled workforce in the world. And whereas apprenticeship is a earn and learn training model that combines work-based learning with related classroom instruction using the highest industry standards, which benefits industries as they can diversify their workforce, improve productivity and profitability, standardize training, reduce turnover, and receive tax credits. And whereas the building trades affiliate unions and their signatory contractors have more than 1,600 training centers in the United States, led locally by the Fresno, Madera, Kings, and Tulare Counties Building and Construction Trades Council, AFL-CIO, which has developed and conducted the multi-craft pre-apprenticeship training in partnership with local workforce investment boards and trained well over 400 participants since 2009. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, and the members of the Fresno City Council proclaim November 6, 2015 as National Apprenticeship Day as part of National Apprenticeship Week and recognize the Fresno, Madera, Kings, and Tulare Counties Building and Construction Trades Council, AFL-CIO, for their leadership, commitment, and dedication to expanding the apprenticeship model in the city of Fresno.
Council President. Chuck, just for a moment, I just wanted to add our appreciation to your program. And I had the privilege of taking an afternoon and having Chuck and everybody give me a tour of that training center. And it's fantastic. And anyone that's looking for a career or an opportunity, please take advantage of this because it's a wonderful program. And when you come out of that, you are truly a journeyman and well-skilled and well-prepared for the labor force. So thank you guys again for taking me through the facility and taking your time out of your busy day to give me that tour, and it was fantastic, and I loved it. It was great. I think I'm in the wrong profession, actually. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, next up, we have a resolution of commendation for Healthy Eating Active Living City campaign by Councilmember Soria. Mouthful.
Never mind. So good afternoon. Today I'm happy to celebrate that the Fresno City Council has passed a resolution of commendation joining the Healthy Eating Active Living Cities campaign, which is spearheaded by the League of California Cities. So today, our city now joins other Central Valley cities like Modesto and Clovis to embrace policies that promote healthier lifestyles and communities. So I want to thank you guys, Cultiva la Salud, for helping us drive this initiative here locally and working with us to make this possible. So we know that Cultiva la Salud is a very active organization here working in the Central Valley that focuses on health equity, access to healthy food, and clean drinking water, and promotes physical activity among all residents, particularly minority and low-income residents here in Fresno. I'm very encouraged by this HEAL resolution, and I'm encouraged that many of our policies in our city, which are being initiated, are in line with HEAL, such as encouraging and promoting biking and walkable neighborhoods, exploring joint use agreements to expand access to green space, health goals and food policy in the general plan update, and providing access to quiet space for breastfeeding employees and city residents. Earlier this year, we brought forth, during the budget, a partnership with actually First Five, Fresno County, to increase the space here for and encourage breastfeeding of our employees and also families that visit here our city hall. So very excited about that. But I do want to thank Esther. I know that we've been working for some time to bring this resolution forward. Thank you for the work that you guys do, and I'm excited that we are finally able to bring this forward today in support with all the my council colleagues. So I'll just let you say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, City Council members. I am Esther Postiglione. I'm the program manager here with Cultiva la Salud, and we really appreciate Councilmember Soria championing this effort, and City Council jumping on board, have been very supportive. With Cultiva la Salud, we do work towards improvement of policies, systems, and environmental improvements that help to increase access to healthier neighborhoods. And as Councilmember Soria mentioned, we do work with low-income and minority groups specifically because we know that oftentimes they're disproportionately affected by limited access to healthy food and access to safe environments to be active, which is one of the reasons that we've worked with Councilmember Soria and her staff to bring this forward. And it's just really, all of the City Council should be commended because this is a really great step forward in terms of ensuring equitable access to healthy food and safe physical activity environments for all, not just in new neighborhoods, but in established and historical neighborhoods throughout Fresno. And so we just want to commend their support for this HEAL resolution, and we're really excited about it. We know that this is a foundation that we can build upon, and as Councilmember Soria shared, a lot of this has been in the general plan, and so it's in the works, and so this is just one more step to improving the neighborhoods of all Fresno residents. And I think the most important thing is that today the city and City Council is making a commitment to all the health of residents of Fresno, not just in Southeast, not just in Central, but throughout the entire city, and that's something that should really be applauded. So we definitely want to thank Councilmember Soria for her support, as well as Councilmember Quintero, who's been very supportive of our efforts. And so we thank City Council, and we look forward to seeing healthier communities throughout Fresno. Thank you. Yes, and we have our team here, Liliana Gomez, and we have Eva Falk, who works a lot on our REACH efforts, which are racial and ethnic approaches to community health. So we're working specifically with the Latino community, but just as this resolution shows, it doesn't just impact our Latino communities, but the entire city. So, thank you.
Thank you again for all the work that you guys do, and I know that we had worked on this for a number of months, so thank you again for your patience and cooperation with us. City Clerk, if you could read the resolution for the record.
Whereas, in 2004, the League of California Cities adopted an annual conference resolution to encourage cities to embrace policies that facilitate activities to promote healthier lifestyles and communities, including healthy diet and nutrition, and adoption of city design and planning principles that enable citizens of all ages and abilities to undertake exercise. And whereas, in 2010, the League of California Cities Board of Directors resolved to partner with and support the national Let's Move campaign and encourages California cities to adopt preventative measures to fight obesity with the strategic goal to promote and develop safe and healthy cities. And whereas more children are being diagnosed with diseases previously seen only in adults, such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and 1 in 4 youth between the ages of 9 and 16 in California is overweight or obese. And whereas more than half of California's adults are overweight or obese and therefore at risk for many chronic conditions including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, stroke, and hypertension. And whereas obesity takes a tremendous toll on the health and productivity of all Californians, with the annual cost to the state in medical bills, worker compensation, and lost productivity for overweight, obesity, and physical inactivity exceeds $41 billion. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Fresno does hereby recognize that obesity is a serious threat to the well-being of adults, children, and families in Fresno. The City of Fresno commits to do all it can to decrease the rate of obesity in our community and implement necessary policies to create healthier work, schools, and neighborhood environments. To achieve these goals, Fresno adopts this Healthy Eating, Active Living resolution and should make every effort to encourage projects that increase the opportunities for physical activity in existing areas, address walking and biking connectivity between residential neighborhoods, schools, parks, recreational resources, and retail, expand community access to indoor and outdoor public facilities via joint use agreements with schools and other partners, facilitate the siting of new grocery stores, community gardens, and farmers markets in underserved communities to increase access to healthy food, including fresh fruits and vegetables, encourage development opportunities, providing access to healthy foods and beverages wherever and whenever possible, including prioritizing healthy food retail and hydration stations in compact, mixed-use, transit-oriented development policies, proposals, and projects. Include health goals and policies related to access to healthy food in general plan update. Provide incentives for development projects proposals to increase access to healthy foods by residents and employees. Examine racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic disparities in access to healthy foods and physical activity opportunities, as well as work to remedy these inequities. And promote wellness among City of Fresno employees through support of employee health incentives, healthy eating and physical activity, and accommodation of breastfeeding employees upon the return to work.
Okay, so now I'll call Emilia Reyes and your team from First Five Fresno County.
You want to announce the proclamation?
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead. You can announce it. You're down there. Well, next up, we're going to have a proclamation for declaring November as Prematurity Awareness Month and declaring November 17th, 2015, World Prematurity Day, and that will be presented by Councilmember Soria as well.
Thank you. So November is Prematurity Awareness Month, and I'm happy to recognize Fresno County Preterm Birth Initiative today for their efforts to combat this issue that afflicts so many of our babies and their mothers here in the Central Valley. We know that premature birth is the leading cause of death among newborns worldwide and affects over 500,000 babies in the United States. Here locally, 1 out of every 9 babies is born premature. So that's over 1,500 babies in Fresno County alone, and roughly 10% of all births. That rate ranks amongst the highest in the nation and rivals some developing countries. So very stark statistics here locally. The initiative, in partnership with UC San Francisco and First Five Fresno County, is leading the way to help reduce the rate of premature babies born in Fresno County, as well as increase health and awareness of women. So I want to thank Emilia Reyes and her team. She's Executive Director of First Five Fresno County, and I want to thank you for your work, and if you want to talk a little bit of the work that you guys have been doing over the last year.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members and the public. Emilia Reyes, Executive Director for First Five Fresno County. And on behalf of the Fresno County Preterm Birth Initiative, thank you for helping to bring awareness to this very important issue in our community. We know that preterm birth is actually the #1 cause of infant mortality, and the rates in Fresno County are just completely high and unacceptable. And watching our community struggle with this issue is very heartbreaking. So the initiative is led by a steering committee of cross-sector leaders of Fresno County. And that includes UC San Francisco, Fresno State, First Five Fresno County, the Fresno County Office of Education, the County of Fresno, Valley Children's Hospital, Community Medical Center, and that's just to name a few. I can keep on going, but I know I only have a limited amount of time. So over the next 10 years, the initiative will work to improve the health of Fresno County's mothers and reduce the rate of premature babies. And it's wonderful to see. Actually, I commend Councilwoman Soria and the council members here today and the city of Fresno for the commitment of supporting all our most vulnerable babies and their families. And finally, I actually would like to invite all of you to our World Prematurity Day Awareness Walk at 5:30 on November 17th. It's going to start at the Lighthouse for Children and end here at City Hall. And we're lighting up both Lighthouse for Children in purple, and we're hoping to do the same here at City Hall. At the same time, the same initiative is going on in San Francisco, and they're lighting up their City Hall in purple, as well as their local Valley Children's Hospital there in San Francisco. So it's a great initiative that is worldwide. So thank you all for your time and your support on these efforts.
Great. Again, thank you, Emilia, for the work that you guys are doing with the Fresno County Preterm Birth Initiative. I commend you guys. I know that you guys have been doing a lot of work with a lot of partners, and so I'm glad to be able to join you guys today, along with the council and the mayor, to really bring awareness to what is known World Prematurity Day. So thank you again for all the work. City Clerk, if you can read the proclamation for the record.
Whereas premature birth affects approximately 1 in every 9 babies and more than 1,500 babies per year in Fresno County. And whereas premature birth threatens the lives and health of nearly 500,000 babies in the United States every year and is the leading cause of death among newborns. And whereas millions of children face lifelong physical and intellectual disabilities as a consequence of being born too soon. And whereas more than 15 million babies worldwide are born prematurely every year, and nearly 1 million of them die before they reach 1 month of age because of complications related to being born too soon. And whereas the Fresno County Preterm Birth Initiative is working to reduce the rate of babies born prematurely and increase the health of all women before, during, and after pregnancy. And whereas organizations in Fresno, including government agencies, businesses, schools, colleges, churches, nonprofit organizations, hospitals, clinics, and others are working as part of the Preterm Birth Initiative's cross-sector steering committee to improve the health of mothers and babies in the city of Fresno and throughout Fresno County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Mayor and Council of the City of Fresno, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2015 as Prematurity Awareness Month and recognize November 17th, 2015 as World Prematurity Day.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Soria. So next up, we're going to have the approval of the minutes from the October 29th, 2015 meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any changes to the minutes?
Changes.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve? All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 6-0. Councilmember Olivier absent. We now are to Councilmember reports and comments. Councilmember Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. Just yesterday, we had the privilege of going to United Carpet One here in Fresno, and they were presented a piece of the metal from the World Trade Center in New York City. And so why were they presented with this incredible piece of metal that survived that particular event? It's because United Carpet Care has made a commitment to veterans, and with their generous support, it's called Building for America's Bravest, and they're providing materials for the development of 46 smart homes to improve the quality of life for our nation's most severely injured service heroes, so they can have a better life and an independent life. And each one of these homes, it runs about $450,000 to make them accessible to the amputees and double amputees, that other seriously injured veterans that are need this particular service. So it was a privilege for me to be there while Roger Kilfoy, who was a survivor at the Trade Centers himself as a firefighter, he came all the way out here to make that presentation. So our hats off to United Carpet One, and they are inspirational, and I hope more businesses in our community will support more causes like that. Thank you. Oh, by the way, tonight, 7 o'clock, Fresno State plays Nevada. So I will be too. So I'll see you there, Marina, and I encourage everyone to show up and participate and support our team. This is a hard time, we know that, 2-6, but it doesn't matter. We still have that Bulldog spirit. Thank you.
Councilmember Soria.
So similarly, I attended, myself and my colleague here, Steve, we went yesterday to the similar event in my district, our Boundaries where it's boundary to District 2, to also give recognition to United Carpet One, which is located on Shaw Avenue, for the similar efforts. So it was a great event. I also want to just report that this morning I was at Roding Elementary School in District 1, where DaVita, which provides dialysis services, partnered up and donated 812 shoes to all the elementary kids attending the school. Wonderful event to see the happy faces of all these young children, especially it's in a neighborhood where it's very disadvantaged, and so it was just great to see these kids very excited to put on their new shoes. I got an opportunity to actually put new tennis shoes to a couple of the kids there, so very exciting to be able to do that. And to see the work that some of these private businesses are doing to give back to our community, so very exciting. I also want to report that the day before yesterday, or was it yesterday morning actually, my days are blending in, we had a fundraiser for Inspiration Park at the actual site. We had the opportunity to give VIP tours to folks that attended, who will become partners to help us support and continue to keep the park open. And so very exciting to have had such a great turnout. I believe we had about 40 people come out, and there are still sponsorship opportunities to help raise the money necessary to keep the park open for the entire year. So I also want to announce that November 14th, we're very exciting. We finalized the date at 11 a.m. We will be having the ribbon cutting, the official ribbon cutting of the park, and we will have a community celebration where we will offer entertainment, food, and just a lot of fun for all the families and children of the city of Fresno that want to attend, and so we're very excited for that. Thank you.
Councilmember Brand.
Don't we have the development code tonight at 5 o'clock? 5:30?
Well, stand by, because I think we may continue that until the November 12th meeting.
Just in case in the Fresno State game. I'd like to close this meeting in the memory of Frank Bennett, a close friend and former Fresnan who spent many hours with me for a 15, 20-year period windsurfing the lakes and oceans of California. Thank you.
What was the name, Councilmember Brown? Frank Bennett? Frank Bennett? Councilmember Brandau.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to mention that on Monday evening, I attended a conference in downtown Fresno called Islam versus ISIS. And we had faith leaders from throughout the community, as well as local law enforcement. Chief Dyer was there. Our district attorney, Lisa Smitkamp, was there. We also had a member from the Federal Justice Department and the FBI, and they spent a lot of time talking about how to reach out to youth before our youth fall into the traps that are on the internet. Specifically, they were talking about radicalized Islam. The whole event was really about some of the Islamic leaders in our community denouncing ISIS and wanting to make sure that the community understood that there's a separation there. But then after I read about the incident at the Merced UC campus just yesterday, it's really timely that that this information is getting out, and so that we can protect our youth. And we saw one of our youth earlier here today from EOC that was impacted by positive outreach. And so it was great to have that event with a Catholic priest was there, evangelical pastor was there, imam was there, and also a Jewish rabbi was there. So it was great to have everybody in the room and agree how terrible ISIS is. Today I'm wearing a tie tack that Councilmember Olivier asked me about at lunch, and it is the Arabic letter N, and he didn't like it when he first saw it, but it was the Arabic letter N, and it's because on the doorpost of many homes in properties that ISIS controls, if you are a Christian, a Catholic, somebody that's practicing something other than Islam, they put the letter N on your doorpost, and it's because they call it the Nazarene. So if you're a follower of the Nazarene, they put the letter N on your doorpost, and then the whole community watches you, and at any time they could come take your life if they feel. This is very reminiscent of what happened in Nazi Germany. So it's very appalling. And I was very happy that our local Islamic community wanted to stand up and separate themselves from that kind of activity. But I just want to let you know that we have many of our law enforcement leaders and our community religious leaders looking at these issues. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. One change I'm going to ask for is that we continue our 5:30 p.m. workshop to November 12th at 1:30. Any other changes, Madam Clerk, to the agenda?
I don't have any other changes.
All right. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda. All right. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. Do we have any council members that would like to remove any item from the consent calendar? All right. Seeing none, we'll take the consent calendar out to the public. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on the consent calendar? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. We will now move to closed session. City Attorney, will you make the announcement, please?
Council, do you intend to do all of the closed session or just the evaluation part right now?
We'll figure it out when we get in there.
I'm sorry?
We'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, in closed session, we have evaluation of City Attorney, and also we have two other matters in litigation, Miles versus Mambrini, and also City of Fresno versus Lee.
All right, thank you. We will return after we finish with our closed session. We'll adjourn into closed session. All right, we're going to take our unscheduled right now. We have Gail O'Connor. Hi there. Come on down, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Gail O'Connor. I moved to Fresno in April from Southern California to my affordable senior apartment. I'm grateful for that, but my main complaint here is against the SPCA Animal Shelter Humane Society on Hughes. We're not allowed to take stray animals or feed them or take pets into our apartment without first proof of spay and neuter and vaccinations. We're not allowed to feed stray animals on the property. There was this friendly, someone's lost pet that would wander around our parking lot and meow at everybody wanting to be pet. You couldn't beat the cat off with a stick. It was young, under a year. I know this is a small matter in compared to things, but pets make us more human. And sometimes it's the small things that matter, and if you don't watch out for them, they become big things. I called around, and all the animal rescue places said, don't call us, we have no room. I said the Humane Society would be the best place. I know Fresno Shelter went bankrupt recently. They said they had an adoption center at the Hughes Shelter, the SPCA, so I called and I brought the cat in. It was so friendly, it sat on my lap as I drove there. The cat was mislabeled as being feral by the girls that came out to get him. He got scared, of course, and they said, oh, he'll never be adopted. He's feral. And I said, no, he's not. Within 15 minutes after dropping the pet off there, they said, oh, came around, he's meowing, he'll be assessed tomorrow. He wasn't assessed the next day. I was told to come back Saturday if I was interested in taking the pet. I told them if nobody wants him, I'll take him, but I prefer a younger person who could afford the cat more readily. We have to pay $300 to have a cat at our affordable senior apartment. The cat was killed. It never made it out of assessment. They said it was feral. It had the feral label on it. I said, I have witnesses that it wasn't feral. It was young, healthy. They said, oh, it was sick. I said, it wasn't sick when I brought it here. They said, oh, it probably got something when it got here. We gave it its shots, but it couldn't have the operation, and no one wanted it, so we killed it. That shelter took in 11,000 cats last year. It killed over 8,000. Seems like a lot of waste of money. I know the bigger issue is to have free spay and neuter or very low cost where you can take an animal in to get scanned to see if it does have an owner and vaccinated and the operation. I didn't know. I thought I was doing a good deed, and I turned out to be a jerk for trusting the Humane Society. It's not serving the public. They need to warn the public. They need to say we kill 90% of the animals that come in here because they most likely will get sick, and then we don't have any place to isolate them to treat them. By law, they're supposed to treat sick animals.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Ms. O'Connor, I have Terry out here for my staff. She will meet with you, see what else we can help you with, okay? Thank you.
All right. Now we'll take item 2A, approving consultant agreement in the amount of $241,984.20 with the ZCS Consulting Group, LLC.
Good evening. Essentially, this item is regarding an ADA assessment for our bus stops. And I think to better give an appreciation for it, I've asked Carlos to join us and talk about the need for the assessment. Carlos works at Handy Ride and is our ADA coordinator.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. This particular agreement, if the council approves, will offer us an opportunity to comply with the ADA mandate that we have transition plans, first of all. The second piece is that we'll be able to provide folks, when we make our accessible bus stops accessible, more independence, options of transportation. People with disabilities will have much more options. It's much more expensive if we transport a person that's eligible for paratransit. There's a cost associated with that, which is between $30 to $34 per trip, as opposed to a trip on a fixed route, which is estimated between $2 to $2.50 per trip. So we're going to benefit in many ways. Number one, providing more independence for our public with disabilities. Two, we're offering options, creating options of independence for the public, and it's much more effective to have a variety of options of transportation. Yeah. Thank you, Carlos.
Essentially what we're asking for is something that had not been done before, where there was an assessment of the bus stops to make sure they were ADA compatible. Between the riders and the drivers, it recognized some of our bus stops were in places where it was in the middle of a grassed area and the pole was stuck into the ground, and that became a bus stop. Fine for able-bodied people, but not satisfactory for those who had mobility issues. So what we want to do is correct that problem. Essentially, that's what this item gives us a pathway to do.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Transportation Director. We'll now take this item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Soria.
So I have a couple questions, and I just first wanted to make a comment. So I'm supportive of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish here. The only thing I did ask a couple questions in the last about 24 hours. In terms of our process, I felt like the report that comes to the council is incomplete, and we don't get. I'm all about transparency. I want to know who you guys have talked to. Why is it really that you're selecting one vendor over another? You know, some justification. That's what I like to see. And so I didn't feel that it didn't satisfy me in terms of the information provided. I wasn't sure if you were able to send me I know that you mentioned you would send me an executive summary about the negotiation. And I guess the different qualifications, because I've been crazy busy today, but wasn't sure if that was sent out to the council members. I think everyone should be kind of aware of the process.
We did send it to you, and we'll gladly make it available to anybody. What was included in the request, just to, again, for transparency, was a summary of the negotiation, the summary of the scoring process, and there's one other piece. Oh, and the procurement evaluation itself, and the independent cost assessment, cost analysis. Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to see it, but I just, for future, and I get the goal of what we're trying to do in terms of accessibility, but I do believe that just for transparency purposes, and so we're aware of what other, bidders, I think that would be great. So I don't know, is it time sensitive that we approve this today? Maybe if we allow the council to have that information, I think that would be appropriate. I think then we could make a vote with much more information.
It's not that kind of time sensitive, but essentially there were two bidders. Again, and what we initially had to do was qualify to determine who was most qualified. Afterwards, we began to negotiate. In terms of transparency, again, all that information is available, and we will send that out to every council member.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys getting that information to me in the last, 24-hour period. But I think for purposes of the entire council, I think it would be valuable for them to have the information. So I would like to make a motion for additional time. I think that we have.
You want to make a motion to continue there?
Yes, please.
Do you have a day you want to continue it to?
Next council meeting. I think as long as the entire council gets all the information that I requested, I don't have a problem with that.
The next council meeting, Madam Clerk, is on the 12th. City Attorney, would it be the 19th would be the next meeting we would continue this to?
The 12th just has the one item on it right now, the development code. The next regular meeting would be the 19th.
Councilmember Soria, did you have a preference?
Sorry, I missed that.
The 12th just has the one item of the development code on it right now, so the next regular full meeting would be on the 19th.
19th? Yeah, the 19th, I think, since we're focused on the development code just for the 12th. I think the 19th.
And I will caution council that the 19th is going to be a very heavy day. But I believe it's a 1:30 start on the 19th.
You guys want to take other items?
If you'd like to continue to the 19th, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to caution it's going to be a pretty heavy day.
That's fine.
Okay, so the motion is to continue the item to November 9th to the November 19th regular scheduled meeting. Councilmember Quintero, and we have a second.
Thank you, Brian and Carlos. Appreciate it. Real quick question is the study itself. Is that going to be in concert with the BRT? What you're doing with the BRT?
No, it's not pinned down to BRT. What it will do is a number of things. It will help us to understand where we're out of compliance and, again, kind of help mitigate any risk regarding a person who looks at our system and says, okay, fine, these stops, not just a stop, but a number of stops are out of compliance. And our reason for trying to move this item as quickly as possible, once we, essentially what happens is as soon as we are aware of the issue, we need to mitigate it. So we're trying to mitigate the issue as soon as possible.
With what's existing?
By having the study available, yes.
Okay, understand. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Olivier.
Thank you, Councilmember Soria, for asking for a little bit more time. I would feel a lot more comfortable as well if we had some more time to understand it. Does it include so the consultant will come in from the Bay Area into our community, and then tell me the kinds of things that they will be looking for evaluating? Yeah.
Sure. Essentially what they're looking for are the standards that are set by ADA, and are we compliant with those standards? So if there's a bus bench, if we've got a bus bench and a shelter, is there enough clearance for someone who is not interested in taking the bus to be able to pass behind the shelter? Is the shelter and our amenities, are there an impairment? Is there a curb cut that makes the stop accessible to somebody who is mobility limited? So it will give us that kind of information for 1,700 shelters, 1,700 stops.
And can that be accomplished in-house? I know we have a fantastic group of people. I mean, can 2 or 3 teams be sent out to do this without expending that kind of money?
We thought about it, and it was impossible. It would take so long for us to do it. It's a lot of resource involved. It's measuring every stop. It's making taking pictures, making an evaluation of it, saying maybe the stop should not be here, but it's down the street. And we just don't have the capacity to do that.
Has this kind of study ever been undertaken by the City of Fresno Fax before?
No.
This would be the first time in city history that it's been undertaken?
It is, and again, quite candidly.
Because ADA was passed in, 1990? So it's been
1992, yes.
1992. So it's been decades, and this hasn't been done?
No.
Why?
Not sure. And your line of what you're talking about is so germane because there's a risk there. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to mitigate that risk by saying, here's our plan now, and anyone who is who recognizes us being out of compliance, and we recognize we're out of compliance, at least we're mitigating that.
Mm-hmm. Does the study include an evaluation of health and safety of the bus stops? Does it include a checklist on the cleanliness of the bus stops as well? Maybe the upkeep, the condition of the bus stops, if benches and so forth?
Not really. It's really related to those ADA kind of issues. So the cleanliness is something that can be swept away, cleaned, and it's okay. What it's really looking for are those structural issues, like a curb cut or accessibility from point to point. So what's the value of a curb cut, let's say, in a mid-block bus stop, and there's no sidewalk? So it's evaluating those kind of things to make sure that the system overall has a convenience for those disabled people, those people who are mobility limited.
Once the findings are brought back, how long will it take to implement them? And does the system have the money to implement the recommendations? And how long would that take?
Again, it depends how deep the issues are. They will help to prioritize some of those issues to see how deep the issues are. The next point for us will be what kind of money do we have available in order to mitigate that. The whole idea is that there has to be a plan, and we have to commit so much resources in order to execute that plan.
Do grants exist to implement these kinds of fixes, or is it something that, I mean, obviously the entire system really runs on grant money, but do grants exist to do something like this?
In a very limited fashion. In a very, very limited fashion, there are. Again, the grants that exist are competitive grants that, let's say, the city would also want to do for curb cuts and to make the general streets accessible. So it's a matter of vying against the number of people for those pots of money.
And I guess my final couple of questions. You came to us as the city of Fresno Facts as a professional with many years of transportation under your belt, and also you're also very experienced. If you could just give a cursory pronouncement of the conditions in terms of ADA on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being perfect and 10 being absolutely deplorable in terms of mobility, what number would you assign our system, both of you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I would say I would love to hear Carlos's opinion. He'd say around a 7. And
so we're a 7.
Yeah, that's Carlos, and I would say we're something very close, around a 6 or 7. But again, it's not all a construction fix. Some bus stops are places where they just should not be. We've got a lot of bus stops. At some point, there's a need to pare down those bus stops and look at either the overall convenience to the passenger as well as the ADA accessibility. So those are the kind of decisions that we need to make soon.
Do you have, and this is, it's kind of related, it's kind of not, do you have crews of maintenance people that service bus stops on a daily basis?
We do, and soon we'll have a campaign where, let me back up. Let me start with 1,700. And here's a crew of 4 or 5 and 2 crews of 4 or 5. That's 2 crews on 1,700. So it's not like we really have a good opportunity to hit every bus stop to make sure that we are really looking at cleanliness and everything that needs to happen. So how do we get past that? Soon there'll be a campaign where even if we have to hire out, but at some point we need to completely clean the system, do a deep cleaning at Manchester, do a deep cleaning on Van Ness, and encourage people to respect the cleaning effort, and then just do a maintenance effort on it and move on place to place where it's that deep kind of cleaning where eventually we will have cleaned the entire system, and encourage people to respect the cleaning effort.
The only reason why I ask, and I guess I'm finished with my questions for you, and I know I've always been very kind of difficult with you because the transit system and your staff as well, because the transit system is something that means a lot to me, because I represent a lot of folks who rely on Facts to get to work and to school and to the doctor's office and so on. And, I mean, maybe it's because you caught me on a difficult day, maybe it's because I've got a lot on my mind, but really the fact of the matter is after being on the city council here for almost 5 years, we throw so much money at consultants in so many different departments, and I would love to be able to tell my constituents that we're cleaning our bus stops, because at least in my district, the bus stops are really in a filthy condition, and I really know that your staff is trying to do what they can, but they're just in deplorable shape. And so often, as members of the City Council, we're asked to approve contracts with consultants, and Sal says it best, of a study that ends up on a shelf, and he's even called out studies that we have been asked to vote it on that were done so many years ago. And so it's just very frustrating for me. We vote for studies and consultants thinking that we're accomplishing something when there's filth at our bus stops. And so it's very frustrating for me, and I don't know if I'm speaking for some of my colleagues on the council. And like I said, you don't even have to answer, but I'm interested to take the extra couple of weeks to learn more about it, and to ask you both for a meeting where I can be briefed and understand it better. But again, as just an ordinary guy, sure, I get it. We have to have the people come from the Bay Area and count the bus stops and evaluate them and measure them and that. But the people in the districts are suffering because the bus stops are not in peak shape, and they're far below that. So I just thank you for hearing me out, and I'm happy to second Councilmember Soria's motion.
And if I could, just for the record, for a 27-year career, it's been me trying to find ways where we don't spend money outside of what we're able to do. In this case, it's such an important study that I know we can't get done internally. It would take about 4 years to do. But by going outside, it will give us an opportunity to get it done in a much faster way, give us an opportunity to improve those bus stops versus trying to maintain 1,700. Maybe we'll end up coming back with 1,400. So that's the reasoning right now, to be able to allow us to manage those resources that we can manage versus something that's outside of our control.
Councilmember Brando.
Thank you, Brian. Actually, I'm going to reserve more of my questions now that we've continued the item, but I do want to ask one question in the interim. And Renee, and I know you're jumping in Bruce's spot today, but we're supposed to have an update about our bus. We had a study done over a year ago now, and then I think Bruce told me we were going to have an update in September. Look, I understand September was swamped, but we do have a big bus study coming out. Is that correct? Brian, do you know when are we going to?
Yeah, there's it is, and it's a matter of having the person who authored it available, and it's just a matter of making sure that availability exists. I've been working like crazy back and forth trying to get it scheduled. My promise to you, as soon as I know and we've got a date confirmed, I'll let everybody know about it as soon as we get that date confirmed. But I'm pressing them very hard to do it before the end of the year, because you deserve to hear the information.
I would love to hear it before the end of the year, and we're really running out of council dates. The only other question I was going to ask today was, in the RFP for this process, were both responses, you said there were 2 responses, were they both out of the city of Fresno that responded?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so no local responses there. Okay, I've got some other questions on the 19th when we continue this item. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion for continuance. Sounds like there's general consensus on that, so let's just continue the item to the 19th of November. We don't have to do a time certain, right, City Attorney?
That's correct.
All right, so the item's continued until November 19th hearing.
Thank you.
Brian. Mm-hmm. Item 2B, we're going to award a contract to Todd Companies in the amount of $522,000 to construct wellhead treatment improvements at Pump Station 171-2.
Council President and members, Lito Buku, Water Division, City of Fresno. This item is to award contract to construct wellhead treatment improvements, Pump Station 171 in the amount of $522,000. This pump station is located at 5203 West Dakota Avenue between Polk and Cornelia. And a few years ago, one of the wells exceeded the state's maximum contaminant level for DBCP, therefore it had to be taken offline. This project, once constructed, will allow us to return that well to service. We received 7 bids for the project and evaluated them, and staff recommends to award the contract to third companies in the amount of $522,000 to construct the treatment facility. If you have any questions?
All right, thank you. I'll now take this item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Soria.
Just for clarification, I know that the award or the contract is in the amount of $522,000. So in our vote, are we voting just for the contract, or are we voting for the total amount of budgeted $560,000, just for the record?
No, this vote is just for the award of the contract, which is $522,000.
Okay, and the additional other anticipated funds that were budgeted, which I believe were in the amount of $38,000, is that correct, or something like that?
The budgeted amount is $560,000, and the difference between the $560 and $500 will be used for other expenses like inspection, construction management, laboratory surveying, and miscellaneous costs, and also contingencies.
But that's not part of our vote? That's just,
no,
you guys are
it's
just allocated that from your department's budget?
Correct.
How does that work?
It was budgeted as a fiscal year budget in the June-July timeframe.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Soria, would you like to make a motion? I'll make a motion. We have a motion. I'll second. All those in favor? I'm sorry? Well, it's not really a district. I mean, it's kind of DPU. So we got a motion. I made the second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Now take item 2C, actions pertaining to the alteration, the Fresno Yosemite International Airport rental car facility. That is in District 4.
Council President, Council, good afternoon. Kevin Michael, Director of Aviation. These two projects are a result of the recent consolidation in the rental car industry in the United States. And we talked about this on a previous item. Avis, Hertz, and Enterprise are the three big players. We have them at our airport along with all of their other brands. What's happening here is that in the ready return lot, it was constructed into 6 separate facilities. And we're going to tear down fences, redo striping, et cetera, to create 3 instead of 6 for an operational efficiency. It's going to include new wayfinding and be a lot more intuitive for the customers. In baggage claim, we're going to tear out the 6 counters that have been there. And by the way, that's one of the last pieces of the facilities we haven't touched since the 80s with the old maroon laminate and so forth. But we're going to take all 6 out and reconstruct into 3 equal areas with new lighting and wayfinding and signage and branding. So much more appealing to the eye and much more efficient to use for both the customers as well as the companies. And in a nutshell, that's the projects, and I have here for any questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. We'll now take the item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. Councilmember Capriello.
Motion to approve. Nice presentation.
We have a motion. Second. We have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Council, right before we go to item 2D, just want to take a moment of personal privilege and make a comment. So it's the council has been made aware of the issue in the news concerning bonuses that were paid by the administration to certain employees. And while there's a significant concern about the lack of transparency and failure to comply with city policy, I can be relatively certain that we are going to seize control of this issue. and address the concerns soon with additional safeguards. And to be very clear, the issue is not about whether or not certain employees were performing well or entitled to compensation they were paid. It's about transparency and compliance with city policy. So council will be addressing the issue very soon in an upcoming meeting. So, Councilmember Brandau.
Thank you, Council President. I concur with your statement.
Councilmember Capriolio.
I likewise concur, Council President.
Councilmember Olivier.
Council President, District 7 also concurs with your statement.
Councilmember Brand. All right. And Councilmember Soria.
I concur.
All right. Concur. As well as Councilmember Quintero. Okay. Thank you, guys. Just wanted to get that on the record. We'll now move on to item 2D, actions pertaining to the adoption of the Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. Staff?
Thank you, Council President, Council members. Brian Leong, Building and Safety Services Manager, Department of Development and Resource Management. The item you have before you today is to add to the Fresno Municipal Code an ordinance which adopts the state's Model Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance, or the MWELO as we refer to it as. As stated in the staff report, this is a response to the requirements of the Governor's Drought Executive Order B 29-15. The adoption of this ordinance will just merely formalize a state mandate to adopt the ordinance, the state's water efficiency ordinance. I would like to point out in your packet the ordinance itself is listing, has a clerical error stating that we're adding section 11-111 to the municipal code. That's actually 11-112. So we are adding this ordinance to the building regulations as section 11-112, Article 1, Chapter 11. Available for any questions.
All right, we'll now take this item out to the public. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais. This is for the entire city, so I'll make a motion that we approve this item. A motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Brand.
That's okay. I just want to clarify. Just basically lowering the standard on the size from 2,500 square feet to 500. That's pretty small, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
But this is pursuant to state guidelines?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's just tightening the...
Pretty much,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor? All opposed? Item passes 7-0. Item 2E, we are going to have a workshop on the Housing and Community Development Division Quarterly Report, July 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2015. Staff?
Good afternoon or good evening, Council. Joe Trujillo, Housing Manager, Development and Resource Management Department.
Mike. There you go.
Again, good afternoon or good evening. Joe Trujillo, Housing Manager, Development and Resource Management Department. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to provide you with an update of Housing Division activities for the first quarter of fiscal year 2016. During this presentation, I will provide a review of our HUD entitlements for fiscal year 2016, some of our fiscal year 2016 annual action plan goals and progress in those areas, some of our accomplishments for the first quarter, and goals that we are focused on for the second quarter of this fiscal year. The amount of entitlement that we received for the fiscal year of 2016 of Community Development Block Grant Funds, or CDBG, is $6,279,000. For the first quarter of program income, in addition to that, of $40,497, and again, that'll provide us with an available CDBG funds to begin the year of approximately $6,320,000. Now, CDBG funds is a flexible fund that we can address a wide range of community needs, from providing funds to assist in improving public facilities, providing public services, and investing in community development. Program income are proceeds that we receive that are directly generated from a sale or lease of property improved with HUD invested funds. Home partnership funds are used to rehabilitate existing affordable housing or can be used to develop new affordable housing. This year's total available funds are approximately $1,708,000, which is a combination of the HUD entitlement of $1,663,000 plus the program income of approximately $46,000. The Emergency Solutions Grant Fund provides assistance with services to the homeless community. The fiscal year 2016 ESG entitlement is $559,850, and we receive $383,139 in housing opportunities for persons with AIDS or HIV, which is referred to as HOPWA. Our rehabilitation and senior paint programs, and this portion of our rehabilitation that I'll cover is specifically to fiscal year 2016. We received HUD's authorization to initiate the senior paint program on September 11, 2015. The senior paint program is available to low-income senior citizens who own and occupy their own homes. The program provides for a licensed lead certified painting contractor to paint the exterior of the home and may include minor repairs such as screens, broken window panes, loose or damaged gutters, provided there are enough funds available after deducting the cost of the paint project. There are $100,000 of CDBG funds that will be used in this program for this fiscal year. Our goal for the senior paint program for this fiscal year is to provide assistance to 20 homes. We initially provided 15 interested homeowners who were identified on an existing contact list, and that was over the last 2 years that we've been collecting names on this contact list. Of those original 15 applications that we initially began working on, 2 of the projects are approved, and we are processing an additional 13 applications. Of the 2 approved projects, both are in District 3, and we have an additional 5 applications that we are processing from District 3. Of the other applications being processed...
Let me just jump in really quick. So kind of talk me through the process of how you guys do outreach for the apps that you initiate.
Okay. When I first arrived here, one of the concerns, at least certain at the division level, was that we were providing outreach for more than we had available to provide to citizens. Case in point is the senior paint program. The senior paint program, we have a contact list of approximately 60 names. There really is no need at this point for outreach, because what we're doing is we're going back over the contact list that we have had over the last year, 2 years, and we are growing down from the top of the list of those who have been on it longest, providing them with the opportunity, contacting them and providing them to see if they're still interested in the program, to see if they still can qualify income, and then moving ahead with reviewing the application and certifying the application.
Okay, let me get my head around this right quick. So you're saying the program is oversubscribed?
Yes.
Okay, how much do we have that's been in the program?
$100,000 to assist 20 homes this year.
20 homes this year? Okay. And so we're doing a quarterly update, so the total number of homes we have for the year is 20.
Yes.
And we have $100,000?
Yes.
Did we carry over any funds from last year?
No, we did not carry over any funds from last year.
Okay. Right.
Not for this program.
Okay.
To go along those lines, so if you're saying that we're oversubscribed, I don't understand why we have 15 initiated and 2 certified. Can you explain that? Because it seems like if you already have the list, then I'll...
I understand the question.
I guess want to get clarification.
If on September 12th, the day after that we were authorized to use the senior paint money, if we would have contacted 60 people, allowed 60 applications to be processed, we receive the first 20 back and start working on those 20, there's an expectation on the part of the citizens with many of our programs, and the way it's happened in the past, is there's an expectation that they are going to be receiving assistance very soon, and that's not the truth. Because again, we have this list that we have to work down of existing citizens who have been on the list. And so we just, again, in a matter of fairness to those who have been on the list for a while, that's the way we approached it.
So how long does it take to certify a person that's been on the list for a while?
It could take some time. The applications, initially we were allowing a 3-week time period for the citizen to return the application back. But that's with also the first contact where we're providing them with the application, or first the phone call to see if they have an interest. Once they state that they have an interest, we provide the application, provide the due date if they need assistance with the application, whether...
So I don't want you to walk me through the whole process, but how long does it take?
It could take you three weeks.
So 3 weeks to get a person certified? So when I see...
Approximately 3 to 4 weeks.
So when I see it says a certified application, it takes about 3 or 4 weeks?
Yes, and again, we just were authorized to use these funds on September 11th. So again, we are just the last one. And as I work through my presentation here, one of the things I would have shown is that we still have 2 applications that are hanging out there. Their due date to turn in an application is today. So if we don't get answers back on those 2 applications, what we will then do is drop those names from the list after making an attempt to contact and see if there's any problem, why they couldn't meet the deadline. And if they can't meet the deadline, they can't provide us with the proper information, then what we will do is we will move to the next 2 people on the list.
So are we doing literally 1 application at a time?
No, we're doing 15 at a time.
15 at a time?
15 at a time.
So you do batches of 15, and right now, out of those 15, you have 2 that are certified.
2 that are certified, and again, as I would have worked through the list here of the applications, again, the other applications, at least the 13 applications that we have remaining, we're still working on processing those. And again, a lot of it has to do with the underwriting, the financial, obtaining the financial records of the citizen who's applying.
Okay.
Can I also, go ahead. One follow-up question. How many people process the applications in your department?
I'm sorry. Two. I have a project manager, and I have a real estate specialist who underwrites the projects. Now, that's just not for the senior paint. That's for all of our programs. So it's just not one program we're dealing with. And so that on top of these 15 applications, we have other applications that they've been working through since July 1st.
So we don't know how many, so no one specifically works on paint projects?
No. In order to process the applications, I have a project manager who was recently hired, and we also have a real estate specialist who underwrites the contracts. Okay. Once the contract is initiated, it moves over to our. Now, this is again just for the 2016 programs, which are specifically our programs. Once that they have been approved on the financial side, then they move to the construction side. Currently, what we have in place is we have a supervisor who supervises the rehab specialist, and we have one rehab specialist who does most of the field work. So between them, they're doing the senior paint, they're doing the citywide, which I'll speak of in a minute, and they're also working through the targeted area rehab, which is our contract with Fresno EOC, which is left over from previous years.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that. So, and I know that I emailed you guys ahead of time. So one of the things that I would like to see, and I don't know if this information was provided, I'd like to see a breakdown of where we're painting some of these houses, like if there's any in District 1 or where these projects are coming. And also for those folks that you say you have on a wait list on this other 40, you have 40 other people on this wait list. I would like to see kind of where, these, and how long these people have been waiting. For our reference. And I'm assuming, because at least from what you're saying, you've put it as a first come, first served basis. That's kind of how you've identified the list?
Maybe I wasn't clear. In other words, what I was trying to explain, if I would have put out all these applications at one time, we would have received and started working on the first 20 applications if we would have put it out there, because that would have been the fair thing to do if that was our approach. Then that means if I was the 21st citizen who submitted my application, and I just happen to be the 21st person. Guess what? I have to wait till the following year till there's additional money. So we're working down the list of people who have been on the list the longest.
Okay, so that's how so it is priority?
Yes.
On how long they've been?
Yes.
And if, okay, thank you.
Of the original 15 applications we approved, 2 projects that are processing an additional 13 applications, an additional 13 applications that we are processing. Of the 2 approved projects, both are in District 3, and we have an additional 5 applications that we are processing from District 3. Of the other applications being processed, 2 are in District 1, and the remaining 4 applications being processed are from Districts 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have yet to receive a response from 2 of the applicants, which I mentioned earlier, and the due date to return the applications is today. For our citywide rehab, which is the homeowner rehab, and again, the citywide rehab is our program. It's a city-operated program that we began. We were authorized to use the funds as of October 14th. So the citywide rehabilitation program is funded with $1.4 million of home investment partnership program funds to be provided to eligible owner-occupied homeowners. The program provides homeowners with up to $65,000 of a rehabilitation assistance in the form of a grant to provide interior or exterior rehabilitation of homes. Our goal for fiscal year 2016 is to provide assistance to 20 households. This program was implemented as I stated, on October 14th. And even the slide that is presented was actually created last week. We are processing 12 applications, and we have 2 homes approved for construction. However, and that's what the slide states. However, as of today, we have 4 projects that have been approved and are moving to the construction side. We continue to process the remaining 8 applications. Of the initial 12 applications, 4 applications have been received from District 1, with 1 of those 4 assigned to the rehabilitation. So from District 1, one will be started soon. We also have received 3 applications from District 3 and 5 applications from District 7. Our low assistance grant for code compliance provides funding to low-income homeowners that are unable to afford the cost of repairs to address health and safety violations. The maximum of $50,000 of CDBG funds will be used in this project. Our goal is to assist 2 homes with this grant. One thing I'd like to say about the programs that we initiated here with 2016 is we're also incorporating sustainability. So what we've done is Jose Gonzalez, the manager for sustainability, working with him, and what we're going to do for every site that we visit with one of our programs, we're going to provide the homeowner with a Central Valley Energy Tune-Up, which again will go through and check the weatherization, many of their programs. Just because they may or may not qualify for one of our programs, there might be something else that they may qualify with through sustainability.
Will you be providing the breakdown on the districts where these projects are being?
I'm sorry. Yes, as a matter of fact, we had already started, at least for the housing projects, we had already began developing a matrix that provides for all the information, whether it is how many applications we received, how many were actually how many were rejected because they did not meet the financials, how many actually dropped out of the program, because with the senior paint, we're finding that some of them are either not interested, they recently had their house painted. So we will be providing that. I've given you the breakdown verbally, as we don't have that matrix prepared completely.
I'm asking for a breakdown of by district.
Yes. And that's what I'm explaining. Yes, that we are in the process. We have a matrix that we are developing.
I just don't think that it should take that long. You have 15 addresses. I could Google them myself and figure out what district. So
I understand, but I'm trying to provide the council with a comprehensive list of all of our programs.
Okay.
Not just senior paint or not just the citywide rehab.
How long do you think that will take you guys?
Probably, I would imagine we could probably provide that by, certainly, I mean, I would think by tomorrow.
Okay.
Actually, Councilmember, the staff is working on that request. We don't normally capture the data necessarily that way, so we will be going forward. And so when we got the request last night around 4 o'clock, they started working on it, but there's a few other things that have come up today that have also required some of their attention. So we anticipate we can get it to you probably tomorrow or Monday at the latest.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Some of the plans that we are currently working on are the Southwest Specific Plan and the Southeast Specific Plan. Now, specific plans are detailed development plans that build on the general plan and are based in community input. As you can see with the Southwest Specific Plan, it's under contract. We anticipate the plan to be adopted and completed, or certainly completed by the fall or March of 2017. The scope for the Southeast Specific Plan is currently being conducted. And with the Fair Housing Council is one of our local partner organizations that is dedicated to the elimination of discrimination in housing and receives HUD funding in the amount of $30,000 a year. Public services. CDBG funds assist in supporting many of our public service activities. The Senior Meal Program. The Senior Meal Program provides qualified seniors with breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals Monday through Friday at designated community centers, and also provides for planned activities. Our annual action plan goal for fiscal year 2016 is to assist 750 seniors, and during the first quarter of 2016, we have provided service to 627 seniors, with the first quarter expenditures of $29,119 for senior meals. Our After Schools program provides for supervised activities, snacks, and assistance with homework to qualified children. During the first quarter of this year, the program has provided service to 165 children in CDBG neighborhoods at the expense of $162,000. Community Revitalization and Neighborhood Revitalization Team, their goal was to resolve 400 confirmed health and safety violations. During the first quarter of this fiscal year, the Neighborhood Revitalization Team identified a total of 311 confirmed code violations. Of those 311 cases, 173 were initiated in the Lowell neighborhood and 138 in the Kirk neighborhood. Of the total cases initiated, 120 have been resolved. 117 in the Lowell neighborhood cases that were initiated have been closed, and 3 of the cases in the Kirk neighborhood have been closed. Public services.
Before you go to that level, on the senior meal and after-school programs, do you have a list of those facilities?
I don't presently have them with me, but we can certainly get them.
Would you please do that, and I guess for all of us, so we can see where that is and how we can improve on it and expand it, hopefully, to every district. Thank you.
I will say that again, some of the information we had already started gathering to start placing in a matrix where we could provide that information. Some of the some of the questions that we received here yesterday were new, and again, we certainly want to add that information in. But what we plan on doing is providing the council with a comprehensive matrix of pretty much everything that we have and the questions that were added to provide you of the breakdown in your districts.
Do you think this will be ready by Monday as well?
This one they're actually working on, so I would probably say Monday.
Thank you.
I got to say about the anti-graffiti team, it's a great program, very successful. Program is operated by the Fresno Police Department, funded by CDBG funds. They have eliminated during the first quarter 6,278 incidents of graffiti from CDBG neighborhoods. The Emergency Solutions Grant Services goal for fiscal year 2016 is to assist 50 homeless clients that are those that we partner with who provide these services. What they've accomplished during this first quarter is to assist 26 adults and 27 children with homeless prevention services, 54 adults and 52 children with rapid rehousing services, assisted 51 domestic violence victims, and 34 youth clients were provided with emergency shelter and services. HOPWA, which is Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS or HIV, is it's not so much a new program to the city, but we haven't administered it. This is the first year that we will be administering the program. What we're in the process of doing right now is partnering or collaborating with the State Department of Public Health, who has been administering the program for us. We're currently in a transition period. So what we're doing, as a matter of fact, as of tomorrow, we're providing to any service providers within the city, both through the continuum of care and any other service providers who might be able to assist with these services, a letter of interest to see if they are interested in providing these services. We will follow up next week with a request for proposal, which will be publicized. Our anticipation is to bring agreements before this body in December and have those contracts, if not initiated or implemented at the end of the year, at the first of the beginning of the year. So there are people that are currently on this program. We don't want services to lapse for them. So there is a transition period that we're going through right now, and they will not lose services.
What's been the delay in this? Because we talked. I remember. I think it may have been May or maybe June. We talked about this, and that was the plan that was laid out back then. Why are we in November and none of that's been started?
And something that is a little further along in the presentation is that we recently hired, again, a recent hire project manager to oversee the homeless programs in Hopwa and TBRA. Those duties in the past have been split by a number of different people. We certainly felt that with the importance of these programs, that we put daily focus on it. So we hired a project manager. As soon as he got on board in August, beginning of August, this is one of the things he started on. So between the ESG agreements and these agreements, his day is pretty full. But again, we initiated the process probably about 3-4 weeks ago. So it was just a matter of, I think, of timing, of getting the personnel on board who could pay the attention and focus that it needed.
So we should expect executed contracts in December?
Yes.
Okay.
Question. On the served year-to-date column, so I know that we have goals of, well, specifically for the ESG services, 50 clients, and so the numbers that you guys have served that we've served year-to-date seem really good. But I guess I wanted to understand more in terms of what were they successful? We understand and know that in the community we do have an issue of homelessness, and so I'm just wondering, with the folks that you guys served, the 34, the 51 domestic violence clients, the 80 adults and 79 children, are they still housed? Was it just temporary?
That information I don't currently have. I can certainly, again, and this is information that we need to get from those organizations. Again, the question was posed very late yesterday. We reached out to those organizations to ask that additional information. As of my walking into the council chambers, I hadn't received that information back yet.
Okay, well, and I hope that just moving forward, we collect that information, because that is valuable to us, I think, in trying to respond to the community about the homeless issue that we have. Actually seeing true success. You can say, you served 34 unaccompanied youth. I don't know what that means. We may have housed them for one day or give them, to the sanctuary, but I don't know if they're not homeless anymore. I think I would like to kind of know more of the outcome.
I can obtain that information from the continuum of care.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Public improvements. CDBG funds assist in improving public facilities. The Roy and Almy project is a reconstruction of 2 severely deteriorated streets. This project is in District 3. The Roy Avenue portion of this project is scheduled to be completed on November 13th, 2015, given good weather, is what my colleagues in Public Works tells me. So again, that hopefully it'll be for next Friday, or Thursday, I'm sorry. No, this Friday. Other neighborhood street improvements and projects include Weller, East Tower, Belgravia, South Bardell Streets, which are in District 3, North Sabre, East Grant, and North Marion, which are in District 5, East Townsend and East Heaton, also in District 5, and East Weldon between North Palm and North Echo, which borders Fresno High School in District 1. The Targeted Area Rehabilitation Program, which when I came on board was a program that we needed to place some focus on. So the Targeted Area Rehabilitation Program offers a $65,000 grant to provide interior or exterior rehabilitation of homes, and the Targeted Area Distress Program offers a $15,000 grant to address immediate health and safety issues in homes. The programs are offered to qualified citizens who own or occupy their home. As you're all aware, we were initially challenged in implementing this program. However, as you can see, we are exceeding our goal with the Targeted Area Rehabilitation Program, but are not meeting our goal with the Targeted Area Distress Program. When the programs were initially implemented in 2014, the Targeted Area Rehab Program was offered in the form of a loan instead of a grant. After a review of the program, we concluded that one of the barriers to getting clients in this program was that the loan may not be palatable to citizens who might be otherwise interested, and that the loan to value of the home was not acceptable, or that there was difficulty in financially qualifying. On July 1st of this year, the policies and procedures for the program were changed to reflect both programs would be offered in the form of a grant versus a loan. Once the programs were offered as a grant, those who initially qualified, or many of those who initially qualified for the distress grant, chose to apply for the rehabilitation grant, and thus leaving us short with a targeted area distress. Now, the subrecipient agreement with EOC terminates on February 28th of 2016. At that time, if there are unused funds, the monies will again be reappropriated by the city and planned for use in an existing city program. And again, those items will certainly come before this body. For our multi-year projects and major rehabilitations, we have many of these going on. Cedar Courts, Inyo Terrace, and Calaveras Court. These are all major rehabilitations. Two of them, and again, I'll have to check on the completion date because with the bad weather that we've had here in the last few days, but they were to be completed on October 30th. Calaveras Court is in pre-development. Cedar Court, Inyo Terrace, Cedar Court's in District 3. Inyo Terrace is in District 5. Calaveras Court in District 3. 386 North Park, which was a Habitat for Humanity single-family home. That home is now in possession of the homeowner as of about 2 weeks ago. Laval Belgravia in District 5, and I've had an opportunity to participate in 4 of the 9 planned projects for the ribbon cutting ceremonies for the homes. It's very, very satisfying to go see the good work that Habitat is doing and that we're partnering with. Of the remaining projects, again, we have Fultonia West, which is new construction in District 3. Cedar Heights, which will provide 14 units, which is under construction and also in District 3. Lotus and Effie, which is new construction of 2 single-family homes. That's in pre-development. That also is in District 3. Glen Avenue, which is new construction, which will provide 8 units. That is in pre-development and is in District 3. And B and Abrador Streets, which is an acquisition and demolition currently, that will provide 4 single-family homes, and that is also in District 3. During this first quarter of FY 2016, we have accomplished some things. The first of which was the approval of the 2015-2019 Consolidated Plan, along with the 2015 Annual Action Plan. The Consolidated Performance and Evaluation Report, which was submitted on September 30th, HUD has 45 days to review it, so we anticipate a response from them next week or the week after, November 15th. On staffing, as I mentioned earlier, we recently hired a rehab project manager to oversee all of our rehab programs. He was hired, came on board on August 10th. Our homeless programs project manager, which I mentioned earlier, he was hired and came on board on August 3rd. I was last month appointed to the Fresno Madera Continuum Care as an executive committee member, So I have a vote with issues that revolve continuum of care issues throughout the region, both in Fresno County and in Madera. Our contractors workshop. Our contractors workshop, which we conducted on August 19th, we had a lot of people attend, 67 attendees. We had 13 new applications submitted out of that process. We currently have 9 contractors identified for housing rehabilitation work. Now, I was asked to provide a breakdown, and so this is something that I had to do a quick spreadsheet here. But what we have is we have, out of the 9 businesses, 9 contractors that we currently have on board, and to be quite honest with you, the goal is we need to get 15 contractors identified. So that's the goal for our list. In District 1, we have 1 business that's identified. In District 4, we have 2 businesses identified. District 5, we have 1 business identified. District 6 has 2 contractor businesses identified, and from the county we have 3 businesses that have been identified and are certified to do rehabilitation work with us. And you may or may not be aware that we've been conducting biweekly meetings with our San Francisco HUD representative probably since I would say the first week in August. What we discuss during these meetings, and who participates in those meetings, myself, my director, along with the city manager, the assistant city manager, and the HUD staff, which is our CPD representative in San Francisco, and her bosses. And what we do during this time is we work through the issues, the outstanding issues that the city is currently working on. They've been of great assistance. They've been providing us with guidance and actually have really helped guide us in doing the things that we need to do to move forward. We did hire a consultant this last quarter, Usana Development, and this was to assist in the area of CDBG. I think...
Can you remind us of how much we're paying for this consultant?
The consultant is it's approximately $49,000. It's not. It's right around $49,000. The contract is effective until June 30th of 2016.
The consultant, if I may, the consultant contract is in an amount not to exceed $50,000 right now. The hourly rate is $95 an hour. We did initially attain him to help us with mostly CDBG, but he has also been assisting us with ESG as well as home and our continuing communication with HUD in clearing our monitoring findings. We have had a key employee, a key CDBG employee who has been out on an extended illness leave, and so he has been instrumental in providing us with the guidance that we need, and also in training of staff to keep us moving forward. He is a renowned expert in his field. As a matter of fact, HUD has actually used him to perform their own internal training. He has been such a valuable resource for us that we do anticipate coming back to council to extend the contract further if we get to the point where we think he's going to exceed that $50,000 limit.
So up to today, how much have we spent? Do we know?
I think the last time that Jennifer and I discussed it, he was at around $35,000. So we're thinking probably by the end of the year in January sometime, because we are spending significant amount of time in identifying the resolutions for our CDBG monitoring.
How long has he been on contract?
Since June.
June.
The goal, as we begin the second quarter of the fiscal year, some of the goals that we are focused on are, we have initiated the analysis of impediments to fair housing through the RFP process and have completed making a selection. We're going to start working on the agreement process here in the next 2 weeks. We've committed to HUD that we would submit the updated analysis of impediments to fair housing when we submit our annual action plan in May of 2016. We also, again, we want to be able to complete the ESG agreements that I had mentioned earlier. Also, and maybe I failed to mention that we are currently in the process of an ESG NOFA. We had a NOFA go out for the 2015 ESG monies. The by due date for those applications is tomorrow. On November 12th, we will be reviewing those applications and ranking those applications, making those selections, and then bringing those agreements in front of this body during the month of December. Also, as I mentioned earlier,
can you speak to the hiring of the accountant and auditor in terms of why they're needed? We have already a consultant that is helping us with the monitoring piece, but I'm just wondering how this other consultant or this other position is going to help us.
The hiring of an accountant auditor, and again, this is a position that we're filling after a position was vacated. We recently had somebody that was promoted within the city and went elsewhere to another division. With the issues that we are currently trying to work through from the past, and then trying to put a firm foundation underneath us for the future, the accountant auditor was hired so we could have daily oversight at any given time within the division. This person will be working directly for me and will also be collaborating with the department budget. In the past, what we've been doing is we've been relying on our CDBG business manager who is no longer or not with us currently, and also with our department budget business manager who has oversight of the entire department's budget. So to place focus on such an important aspect of the monies that we oversee, we felt it was very important to have this accountant auditor.
So I think I had asked this question previously, and so I think that, Renee, you had attempted to clarify that this was not an added position, but that there was a staff assistant position vacant that you guys converted to an accountant auditor. I know that the council is the one that approves the different positions, so I'm just wondering, is this normal practice? Is this allowed? Does this have to come to council before you decide to change a position? I don't know if anyone can answer that question.
I can clarify that. The position authorization resolution, I believe it's section 3B, allows for the conversion of positions. It's pretty routine in order to align the work product with the proper classification. In this case, there was a staff assistant who was processing the work on a daily basis, and basically they would just take the packet of information that was handed to them, do the data entry, and move on. When she decided to accept a position in another department, given that both this body as well as HUD has emphasized the fact that we need more expertise in the department, we took that opportunity to try to fill the position with someone that has a higher skill set, that is not only just processing the paperwork, but analyzing that information so that we could be in front of issues rather than waiting for HUD to come in and monitor us and identify them for us. So it's not an added position or a new position. It's simply converting an existing position to a higher skill set.
We have an opportunity, as we did with the sustainability, to leverage some partnerships and assets from elsewhere. So EOC has come to us and asked that we assist them with their lead program. They have approximately $400,000 of lead program that we can put to work. We've in the past conducted a very successful lead program. So we are in the process of finalizing an agreement as a subrecipient with Fresno EOC to put those funds to work in the city neighborhoods. Now, if EOC would have put that money to work or would have been able to put that money to work, it would have went throughout the county. As we were using it and we are the subrecipients, the understanding is we cannot do work outside of the city, so those entire dollars will be spent within the city. A program menu is something that we're developing along the same lines as Business Friendly Fresno, the handout that Planning and Building and Safety currently use, that describes what our programs are and the steps on how somebody might get there. And again, we're trying to simplify it so it's a visual, so people can look at it and they can clearly understand, if I'm a homeowner and I want some work done, I got through step 1. Step 2 is contact the housing division. Step 3 is so on and so forth. So that has been drafted, but again, what we're going to do is we're going to see what assets are out there that can publish a presentable document for the public, and that we can use year to year to year.
And that will be translated in some of the most common languages?
What we're concentrating on in the housing division right now, even though we're placing focus on the five top languages, but what we're making sure that we have translation for are the top 3, which are English, Spanish, and Hmong. The financial dashboard will be distributed when we are certain that the accuracy of all of its elements are correct. Since this is a new tool and is requiring some back and forth, certainly between the staff and administration, it's taken a little longer than we expected. We anticipate this to be distributed very soon, and again, I think, as we explained earlier, our staff shortage in CDBG has hindered us in being able to complete that for this presentation. On staffing, again, I believe we've answered the question on hiring the accountant auditor. I believe the contract extension with USANA Development has been reviewed. We also continue our bi-weekly meetings with HUD. As a matter of fact, we had one this morning. And again, we continue to work with them to bring to closure our outstanding issues. And if needed, we will bring the extended consultant contract to City Council, and again, if needed. Entering into the first quarter of this fiscal year, the division faced a number of issues. And we had limited staff to resolve, but again, what we're trying to do is place a firm foundation underneath us for the future while still trying to correct issues from the past. I know that we have a lot of hard work still ahead of us. I know that what we've done in the first quarter is only a drop in the bucket to what we need to do, but I'm firmly committed, and I am certainly confident that, again, we can continue working through these issues, provided, again, we got the proper tools. We're gaining the proper tools now. Certainly, and with the division staff, a lot of it is about training right now. I've got some new people who are unfamiliar with the programs, but they've jumped in with both feet. As you all aware, I'm certainly new to this field, but again, every day is an education for me, and I come away every day with a stronger knowledge of the programs that I oversee. But we're being provided with leadership guidance on all fronts, and so I anticipate that the second quarter will continue to strive and meet the goals that we set down and meet the expectations of the community and this body. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any other questions.
So the last thing, and I guess this may be more for Renee than you, Joe. So I got your email last night about the monitoring letter, and I just wanted to kind of figure out what we are doing to address, our deficiencies there. It seems like we're still, in a very real way, running up against some of the same problems.
Yeah, well, and that's actually one of the reasons that we brought Bo on to help us navigate that, as well as having these biweekly meetings with HUD. We think that as far as the 2012 monitoring related to the home funds, HUD has notified us that those are closed. We think that on the NSP findings that we're very close to having those closed. Really, the main area that we still have some work to do is with the CDBG findings. The recent monitoring that took place over the summer, some of those findings, it's interesting because they came out and basically looked at the same time period that was covered in the previous monitoring, so we hadn't had a chance to address those. In other words, they pulled the same records from the same time period. So what the consultant is helping us do is to identify, working within the regulations, identifying what CDBG eligible areas, because we have the documentation to show that the activities were CDBG eligible activities. So we are working not only with the CPD 9 local office, but they are coordinating with the headquarters for us to work through and resolve those issues. So that is really, I think we probably are another couple months out from getting all of that resolved as far as the recent monitoring. But that will be laid out in the response that we have back to HUD, and they're actually providing us guidance on how to respond to some of these issues.
So the thing we're having the biggest trouble with, if I'm hearing you say this, is how we identify back to the code enforcement issue where we were charging code enforcement personnel to CDBG and we couldn't prove that they were operating CDBG areas.
Right, right, because the way that our record keeping was done, but it was actually HUD representatives that sort of steered us in a path of identifying, well, we could use the two different types of maps and combine those together. So if we can get the if headquarters will agree to that, then we have the documentation to show that absolutely, basically south of Shaw, all the work that was performed was CDBG eligible in a CDBG eligible area. So that's sort of the point that we're working through right now.
So let me ask you, Renee, because that issue is probably, what, 2 years old?
2012. So
3 years old. Why haven't we been able to resolve that in 3 years?
I think it's twofold. Is that while we were collecting all of the data to show that everything was CDBG eligible, both the HUD representative and our staff were kind of not connecting the dots, so to speak, and then time lapses in us getting them literally boxes and boxes and boxes of information, and then not getting a response. So we didn't know if what we were sending would work or it was what they were looking for, and vice versa. Then they would send an email response that maybe didn't make it through all of the channels. So that's one of the reasons for the biweekly meetings, is to make sure that staff on both sides are communicating as well as connecting the dots.
So you think we're going to have this issue finally sorted out in a couple of months about the staffing concerns and where they were charged to?
I think so. In our call this morning, the representative, committed to us that she would do her best to try to get us the appointment that we need with headquarters back in Washington, D.C. And so it's really we are kind of at their mercy and their schedule. But I think once we do that, Bill Kubal, the consultant, has made a very good case for our position. I think that our local reps are listening to our case. That's why they're taking it to the next step for us to work with DC.
Is Bill local? Is he from?
No, Bill works out of Chicago, but he flies in probably for like a week, a month or so. And so not only is he working through these issues, but he's also helping us to develop the policies and procedures that we need, as well as the record keeping, which seems to be sort of a sticking point each time we get monitored.
Okay. When do we anticipate him to be back in Fresno?
He was here last week.
For the CDBG, we received the letter last Friday, so we have 30 days to respond.
Yeah, when is Bo expected to be back in town?
Oh, I'm sorry, November 30th, which I believe is Monday, November 30th. So he should be here the first week of December.
So I'd like to chat with him.
Sure.
Meet him rather next time he's in town.
Okay.
If we can schedule that. I'd like to know what his impressions are, especially if he's an expert in this particular field.
I'd like to be included in that as well, please.
No, it's just for me. You can't come. I'm just kidding. Councilmember Quintero.
Renee and Jose, I just thank you for the report. Appreciate it. And I've seen some improvements in the last year or so as far as more projects getting done and better track of reporting. And I know you still have a ways to go to get it working just right, but I really believe you're on the right track, and even providing us the little bit more detailed information. I appreciate that. But I've seen the improvements, so thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, I think we have no further questions. Council members, thanks, Joe, for the presentation workshop. This is a workshop, so we will not be going out to the public. It was for information for council only. Now we're going to move to item 3A. It's a workshop regarding the Fresno Police Department's use of the Entrada Beware Incident Intelligence Program. I think we have the chief here for that. And just really quick background, council, I had a constituent of mine come into my office, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, and had heard about the program and asked me if I could help him discover what his threat level was. And I didn't think I could. I didn't even know about the program at the time. So he provided me with some background information. I said, well, that's interesting. We probably need to know more as a council. So I think we reached out to you, Chief, maybe within the week after that. So just thought we should know more about what this program is, as I'm getting at least questioned by constituents about it. So the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, Council. And wanted to actually just provide you a brief overview of not only the Beware program that we have been beta testing in Fresno, but also how it fits into our real-time crime center. It won't take long, but we had a couple of slides that we wanted to show you in terms of the real-time crime center. But I wanted to start off by telling you why we developed the real-time crime center in the first place. As many of our our officers get dispatched to, as you know, in-progress crimes, life-threatening calls, hundreds of those a day in the city of Fresno. In fact, we receive about 1,200 911 calls a day in the city of Fresno. And oftentimes these officers are going into areas or locations with limited information, and yet they're expected to make some very quick decisions with limited information regarding those calls. So the purpose of the Real-Time Crime Center is to be able to provide officers with additional information, either through video cameras that might be in the area that are displayed in our Real-Time Crime Center, or additional intelligence information, such as what's behind the door or who's behind the door. And so that's what this Beware product is designed to do, and Sergeant Castro will give you more details regarding that. The Real-Time Crime Center was built entirely with private money through the Fresno Police Chiefs Foundation. We raised and spent about $600,000 on this center. And what it's allowed us to do is to merge all of our video policing cameras into this center, that they can be watched on a 24-hour a day basis, 7 days a week. Not just our video policing cameras, which are about 180 of them, but also the city's traffic cameras, which are about 143, all of the Fresno Unified cameras, which are in excess of 800, and we can access those in certain circumstances if there's a active shooter on campus or something of that nature. But it also allows us to tie in some existing software that we already had, like our computer-aided dispatch system, our records management system, CopLink, which is an investigative tool. And then we've added some additional software, which is our gunshot detection system through ShotSpotter, which Council approved. license plate reader, and the Beware system. And the Beware system is the one that seems to be getting the most attention, not only here but abroad, because I think it's uncertain as to what this information is. Sergeant Castro will tell you it's not anything more than what the general public can already access, generally paying for that, whether it's banks or any other companies, credit checks, etc. But all of that information is accessed immediately, accessed by our officers in the Real-Time Crime Center, and then fed to our officers in the field. So I wanted him to be able to provide just a little bit more detail of the center and the system, but to focus on Beware.
Good evening. I'm Steve Castro. I'm a sergeant assigned to the Crime Center. And like Chief said, he just asked me to touch on a few of the systems that we're using in the center, including Beware. So I will take you through those quickly. I know it's getting late. You all have this in front of you, correct? The slides?
I'm sorry?
Okay.
What was that?
You have these slides?
Yes,
in front of you? Okay.
yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quickly, the first thing we realized when we were building the center is that we needed some type of application to identify what events we want to handle in the Real-Time Crime Center. So we developed our own application in-house. That's what you're seeing in front of you. And this is the backbone of the center. So what this does is this ties in with our computer-aided dispatch system so that we can identify what calls for service that we want to come up into the crime center to have an officer take a look at. Presently, we have all of our high priority calls for service coming into the center. So the way that works is that event or that call for service will come into our dispatch center. That event in our CAD system will be created, and if that's an event that we've identified as one we want to handle in the Real-Time Crime Center, this application will then pick that up, bring that into the center. So the calls will stack up in a queue. It's almost like a secondary CAD system. So you can see the calls stacked up in the queue on the left. You can see some personnel that are assigned. Those would be on the right-hand column. There's a map in the center. The map will show everyone in the center where all of these calls for service are occurring. And then we have a lot of future development plans using this application, including our video policing program, et cetera. But one of the things we did with this application too is we integrated Beware into this product. So what is Beware? Beware is a product from a company called Intrado. It is essentially a service that is designed specifically for law enforcement. So it's all cloud-based. There's no software required on our end. There's no storage required on our end. And what they do is they get all of their data from all of the, or not all of the, but several of the big data aggregators that are out there. And you're probably familiar with a lot of those services. They're probably used here in City Hall, some of them. LexisNexis might ring a bell, that's one. Axiom. There's several of these, and what they do is they just go out and they purchase as much data as they can. So what these are publicly available commercial records. But what Beware does is they put their own unique twist on it for law enforcement, and they make it location-based because that's what's more important to us. So it's location-based so that when the call comes in through that RTCC application, if there's an address associated with that event, that application will automatically send that address out to Beware to run through their system, and then the Beware results will come right back into that system. And that's one of the second things that's unique about Beware is it's extremely fast. It's designed for law enforcement. It's designed to get information to responding officers. We want this information in the officer's hands while they're en route to the call. So that's the second thing it does. The third thing it does, and this is what is also getting a lot of attention, is Beware runs all of this information through their own proprietary algorithm, and they call it a threat assessment. So for us, we look at it, and then we review that data for potential threats. So the information can come through, and I'll show you a screenshot here. So this is a screenshot of some Beware results integrated into our RTCC application. So Beware will quickly analyze each address and each person associated with that address, and then they will assign what they deem a threat assessment. There's only 3, red, yellow, green. They wanted it to be very simple. If an address comes up red, what that means is there is a name associated with that address that comes up red. So as you review the results and you look at the associated names, if one comes up red, like in the example here, then the operator in the center will then look to determine why. What we're
So let me jump in really quick. So how does a person get to red? What is that?
So what Beware utilizes for that is criminal histories. So just public information, criminal histories from the courthouses, et cetera. So what we're finding is, as we look into a person that comes up red, is there's some type of criminal history. So then the operators in the center will then distill that and look, is it just a misdemeanor conviction, or is it a conviction for some kind of felonious assault with a firearm? That's a big difference.
So a person can be red for a misdemeanor?
A person can be red. We don't know what their algorithm is exactly, but what we're finding is a lot of the crimes that are listed for someone with a red or even a yellow, they can be a misdemeanor crime. We don't have any kind of a list that will tell us this is their criteria, this is what would make a person red, this is what would make a person yellow. It's their own system. It's up to our operators, which are all in law enforcement, to distill that and determine, hey, is this something that the responding officer should know? As a cop, is this something I would want to know responding? And then they would relay that. We try not to overload them with information. We try to just provide them with pertinent information that would help them resolve the call.
So the way the software works, and they're compiling all of the publicly available data, and then this algorithm is determining a person's threat level based off of all of that?
Correct.
Okay, so one of the things, and I don't know if you can answer, you may not even be able to answer the question, quite honestly, because it may be more software related, but I think the issue that was brought to our attention is if they're compiling, for instance, social media dialogue, right? I mean, because that's one of the available public domains for the most part. I mean, one can make an argument that some that's not public, but if they're compiling social media dialogue, and if something's taken out of context or whatnot, as was reported at least one time, that's being factored into this algorithm. But us and the police officer wouldn't know how they arrived at yellow, whether it was, they won't know what gets them yellow, right, or red.
With regard to social media?
Right.
Yeah, one of the things Beware lists is, this web crawling of social media. So they'll look for those public posts if they can assign it to a person, and they factor that into their threat assessment. I have yet to see anything related to any kind of a social media post in any of the Beware results thus far, and how they do it, I couldn't tell you. It's all proprietary, in their algorithms. So,
let me ask. This may be more for you, Chief. Because I think the real questions we have are probably for the software developers potentially, and I'm just wondering. The gentleman that came to my office goes, look, he was very honest. He goes, hey, I say a lot of inflammatory things on Facebook, but I'm not a bad guy. And how would I know what my threat level was? And I guess he called the department. The department said, well, we can't tell you what it is unless you get, whatnot. And so I guess what the question is if someone could be given a yellow or red threat level just based off of kind of that social media context and content.
There's a human factor involved, because this doesn't go into the patrol cars. It only goes into the real-time crime center, where you have operators that have been trained to look beyond the red, the yellow, green, and to go into it and say, okay, why did they categorize this yellow or red? For example, if it's somebody that has a past weapons violation, they're going to relay that to the officer. If it's somebody that has made some threats against officers on social media, like I want to kill a cop, that's probably going to be information that a police officer needs as they get there, that this threat has been made in some form or fashion, whether social media or not. What it allows the officer to do then is approach that house a little bit more cautiously, so that it is that call is handled safer for the officer, safer for the citizen. But we take that in consideration, like Sergeant Castro said. We've had this now for over a year in our center, testing it and using it, and not one time have we seen any type of social media categorization that caused it to be a threat level. So I think it's a rarity, and again, we haven't seen it. And we do, I don't know, there's probably 600 of these calls a day. Not every in-progress crime, but all of the priority zeros, which are life-threatening, and all of the priority ones, which, well, not all of them, but most of the priority ones, which are in progress, go into Beware only if there's an address attached, not a name. And they're all location specific. So if it comes up at an intersection or anything of that nature, a 100 block, we won't get any information back. It's address specific. And again, it's for the purpose of telling that officer arriving what or who might behind that door that they need to know of before they get there, so they can maybe slow the call down, maybe get a backup, maybe get a negotiator, maybe do something that's going to allow them to handle that call more safely for the citizen and for the officer. That's the intent. And we take those things into consideration.
So for instance, the person's contacted on the street, just regular contact, you're not running them through the Beware software?
No, it's all address based for officers that are responding. Now, if we had a missing, because the Beware will give you additional information. If you scroll down, it may give you people that are associated with that address and even their cell phone numbers. So if we had a missing person, runaway juvenile, and we wanted to check with those individuals, see if they've seen them, we would have cell phone numbers. So we could utilize it as a investigative tool for that purpose. But the average stop out on the street is not being done at all. It's simply what you know to be criminal history or, wants and warrants or something of that nature.
Right. Okay, Councilmember Brian Downey, you had a couple questions.
Thanks, Council President. Chief, I've got a couple questions too. Some of them are right along the lines of Council President Bain's questions. And actually, we know the same individuals talked with both of us and I consider the guy a friend, and I've had dinner with him a couple times, and he's got some valid concerns that I felt like I had to express. And so his first name is Jordan, and so if he's listening or he ends up watching this on cable, I want to appreciate his coming to our council and talking to us about it. What Jordan's really concerned about is, and Council President already mentioned it, is, he's an aware guy, very sharp guy. And he reads all kinds of, he wants to be aware of everything. I mentioned you earlier today. You and I were at a meeting, Islam versus ISIS, earlier this week, and we talked about some of the things that you see on the internet. Well, a person doing research could read a website that has somebody else saying, I want to go kill cops. Now, what Jordan's worried about is him being branded by the books he purchases, the things he reads, and you're saying that can't happen.
No, we don't know what books people are purchasing. We just know if somebody posts inflammatory threats on a social media site that's, for example, we had an incident here 2 weeks ago, individual out of Clovis who was a juvenile that said that he had a assault rifle and was going to shoot up a school. That would be nice to know for an officer. We were able to track that individual down, had to shut down all of the schools, and then try to locate that individual. Ultimately, we did in Southeast Fresno and make the arrest of him. There's times when you get those types of threats that we need to be aware of. We just had one this week at Fresno State where an individual made a threat through a tweet that said that they were going, it was payback. In essence, they had a assault rifle and they were going to go shoot up the campus at 3 o'clock. That type of information needs to be somehow, somewhere, we need to be aware of it. And if it is somebody making those comments and we know that they're at a location, I believe it's incumbent upon us for the officer to know that before they get there so that they can handle the call more safely, meaning that they may not approach the door. They may want to make a phone call to that residence. They may want to have another approach. They may want to bring out a negotiator to negotiate with this individual if in fact it is true. So it's a precaution. There's a human factor involved. Seldom do we relay these informations to the officers in the field unless we absolutely believe that their officers should be aware of it. And if we do have that information available to us as a public and we don't put it in the hands of an officer, an officer pulls up and does get shot or killed, or another citizen, shame on us in law enforcement for not taking advantage of that technology. Now, we want to be very careful not to abuse it with any of our technology, whether it's video policing cameras or anything else. Technology is only as good as the hands that it's placed in. And that's why we have to be very careful and train our people appropriately. Just like a dispatcher will have information in a call where we do a premise history. We'll do a premise history on an address based on a prior call where an officer responded and maybe threats were made towards officers or threats were made or there was a gun there. We need to know that. And for many, many years, law enforcement has seen a premise history on these calls. Well, what this does is broaden it a little bit wider so that we can assess the threat level. Very few of them come out in red.
Yeah, now, and I appreciate that, and 99% of that I really agree with, and especially the impulse of keeping people and our officers safe. I do want to read a quote from Intrado's vice president, a guy named Steve Reed. It's about a paragraph long, but I want to read it into the record. Beware looks at any comments that can be construed as offensive by scanning our social media, comments we make online, and recent purchases we have made, looking for warning signs. So the vice president of Intrado is saying that they can follow up on purchases made. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not up to speed on how this ties in to our Fourth Amendment rights, you know, of search and seizure. I want you to be able to accomplish and have the tools you need to accomplish, but I have to, you know, beware of our Fourth Amendment rights. I'm going to probably do some of my own research. To be honest, Chief, my guess is I'm a red. Okay, my guess is I'm a red. And coming from the Tea Party.
Would you like us to run your name real quick?
I would love for you.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, put it up here. But the
yeah, I want to see too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very sensitive to this. Sure. You know, we all have our sensitivities, but we know, Tea Partiers know, that we've been sought out before by branches of government.
Absolutely.
You know, and really, that's a bad reflection on what we do in government. And every time somebody challenges somebody with it, you know, it's a security issue. We had to do it, and they, you know, so I still have to ask some tough questions. And the vice president is saying, you know, that they're willing to scan comments we made, websites we visit, purchases that we make, looking for warning signs. And that's so very subjective, right? To put, what is a warning sign? What can be construed as offensive? You know, I could probably construe something as offensive, and Council President Baines might see something.
Yes.
So it's very subjective.
Let me see if Sergeant Castro can take a shot at answering that.
Okay.
Hopefully he can, based on what we know of the system.
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to what their vice president was talking about, but I can tell you based on my knowledge of this this data aggregation world, you know, since I've been in there and have been learning more about it. Probably what he's referring to on the purchases is a lot of these large big data aggregators, they're geared for the corporate world. And so they do track purchases. That's why when you'll go on a web page and Google's sending you ads for things that you
Golf clubs.
searched
in the next
weeks
3
ago.
weeks, you get golf clubs.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's referring to. So if they use one of those data aggregators and then they have some kind of purchase history that they would deem as a threat. Now, what that is, I don't know. I don't know what you could be purchasing that.
Well, Sergeant, what if this is the kind of stuff that bugs me. What if it's ammunition? I mean, people are very worried about the government collecting personal information from them. Today it all sounds rational, tomorrow it sounds scary, and so, I've got to say, I mean, those things, they bother me too. And I know, as a Tea Partier, that websites that I visit, hey, come see this website. Before you know it, I'm guarantee you, Council President, I'm a red on the Entrado beware. So can an individual in our community come and find out what their threat rating is?
Yeah, through Entrado?
Yeah, could this guy Jordan come to you and say, Sergeant, I would like to know what my...
The only way we can do that is by running an address.
Okay.
And so if he provided an address...
But you guys would be willing?
I think we could probably do that. I don't think it would violate any of our terms,
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate that. So Sergeant, you said we don't quite, we don't know their algorithms or their criteria.
Steve, can I ask a question on your, before I forget it? If in fact Steve goes down there and runs his address and he's red, right? Mm-hmm. Is there any information, clarifying information that he could provide to you to change the algorithm?
No, we wouldn't be. Yeah, that's completely their system. They do the hosting.
We couldn't change their system, but we can update our CAD information on that address, so that when an officer, for example, when a call goes into dispatch, the call taker makes up the call on a computer-aided dispatch event log. Mm-hmm. That event log then goes to the dispatcher, and at the same time it goes up to folks in the real-time crime center. Now we can attach a premise history to any and all addresses that says anything we want it to say, including non-response in the future because of an abusive 911 system. Or in this instance, we could say something about this individual or this address has been checked. Even though it's red, it's not a threat level based on the information we have from the individual. So there's ways we can adjust our premise history on all of our addresses. So, but I will tell you, if anybody does want to find out based on their address, we'd be more than happy to share that with them. And if there is something in there, we can, in fact, contact Entrado and let them know maybe their information isn't as good as it should be in that respect. But I am going to follow up with the folks at Entrado to figure out what that paragraph meant in terms of purchases, because we're not about, if somebody wants to go out and buy ammunition, that's a God-given right. I mean, that's a constitutional right. If they want to go out and buy a gun and they're able to do so, that's a constitutional issue. We support that. We're not trying to do anything other than to make sure that officers have whatever information they can have as they respond to a call to handle it more safely. And the big human factor is for somebody to look at that information and know whether or not it rises to the red level. For example, I've seen them in there where somebody has a misdemeanor warrant for drunk driving. It may say red because there's somebody wanted, but you just look at it and say, that's not red, but you can tell the officer, you don't have to tell them it's a threat level. You just say there's an individual that may reside at that location that has a warrant for drunk driving. We're not telling people it's red. There's a high threat level. We're just simply telling them what they may encounter behind the door.
Now, Chief, but haven't we always had that ability when your officers are en route to get them previous criminal history? I mean, isn't that what happens when somebody calls?
Yeah, we would not know if, in fact, somebody had a warrant at that location.
Okay.
The only way we would do it, for example, if we went to a location, it's a mental health call, where somebody there has made threats against an officer, then yes, we could adjust or put a premise history on there about that. Or if somebody had, we'd gone there and they've brandished a firearm out in the front yard, we would have that on a premise history. But we do not have the capability to where it automatically drills down into the database to provide that additional potential threat level assessment.
Okay, interesting.
So
I'm open, and then we are in beta testing. When does this program? When do we have to make a decision on whether we purchase it permanently or?
We are actually out of the beta system now and currently negotiating with them on a cost, something that we're going to be now acquiring for a very reduced price. And I believe that's going to go to council. We're working on that? It will. Yeah. Ultimately, it will come before you at council. Mm-hmm. And hopefully between now and then, any and all of you who want, and I think we already have appointments scheduled for you and for you, Oliver, to come and take a look at the whole system, sit down, feel free to look through it. And if there are concerns or things that we need to address with it, we'd be more than happy to do that. I want you guys to be 100% satisfied with the system, just like we are.
So this is really good then that you're in an opportunity, you're considering whether to purchase the full system or not. And so when somebody makes a public statement on Facebook, I believe they've made a public declaration. I have no problem with you guys knowing that information. However, if they, in the privacy of their home, if they visit a website, that's not a public statement. Can we see if Intrado can draw a dividing line between those two activities?
Yeah, I need to research that to see if in fact they do that. As you probably know, vendors claim a lot of things publicly.
Right.
And when it gets down to it, maybe that's not what they actually do at all. And if that is something that they do, and maybe they don't need to. Like I said, we've been testing this thing for over a year. We haven't seen one thing with social media, so I kind of wonder if they even do it at all.
Yeah. I want to, and I'm really done, but I do want to read into the record, and I'm not reading it to you guys. You guys know it better than I do. I want to read the Fourth Amendment, if you don't mind. The right of the people to secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by the oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be seized and the persons the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So, I love that. I love that Constitution, and I love the Fourth Amendment. And we've had, I don't really feel in my mind that this is all about Fresno Police Department. I want you guys to have all the tools that you need, but I do need to know that people's privacy. And it sounds like we could ask some good questions of what's their name again? Intrado. We can ask some good questions and see if there's a line there that maybe, if we're going to pay them a lot of money, maybe in the Fresno algorithm, we leave off something, we make sure we can catch anything declared on Facebook. That would be fine with me, but sure. I appreciate your time and looking into this for me.
Absolutely, and I'd be more than happy to do some further research with Intrado. And again, in the meantime, anybody wants to come and look at the Real-Time Crime Center and see all the neat things we have with gunshot detection and license plate readers that we subscribe to, all of those things are accessible to you, and we've made them accessible to the public that come in. We do presentations all the time, and we show them whatever we have, and we try to be as transparent as we can.
Chief, just tell me now, am I a red?
Well,
I see it on your face.
Having played golf with you, yes, you're a danger to anybody that's not in the fairway.
Oh, right on.
Clint.
Thank you.
Me?
Councilmember Olivia.
Could you run my threat level now if I give you my address? Because, not from here. You can't call somebody and have them run it just to see what it comes back? I mean, as someone who has, I come from the libertarian wing of
of the council.
We'll call somebody right now.
Can you do that? I'll give you my address. It's 2004 East Terrace.
Call the CIA.
But no, I mean, I come from that group, and obviously officer safety is paramount to me.
Sure.
Officer safety is something that the folks in the neighborhoods demand as well, and so it's something that I'm also I also join my colleagues with some reservations and some concern. That being said, there's probably stuff on Facebook of me at the range. There's probably some, and ironically, Steve, today's the 5th of November, which is kind of a big deal for us. So, there's that kind of stuff on Facebook as well. And so I do appreciate you folks actually doing a quick field test right now here at council, and I would like to take you up on your meeting to learn more about Intrado, how it works.
Yeah, you bet. And your concerns are very valid. And I haven't seen any issues with it since we've had it in place that other than accessing information that the public has access to. And that's really what we're provided. But we'll do some further research, and then when you come over, you can take a look at it. We'll run your address right now. Hopefully you don't have any warrants.
Oh gosh, I drove a toll road in Orange County. I think I paid it. Will that come up? But no.
Be careful what you're asking.
No, I know. I mean, I could be hauled off right now. We all have our skeletons. So I'm just interested to see how it works a little bit more. And obviously, I when folks like Steve and myself and others on the council express their concern about, I mean, it's really like a science fiction book, a dystopian kind of thing come to life. And so we want to make sure that it's okay. That's all.
And I go into the real-time crime center every day, and I ask about the Beware. I always say, hey, bring one up and show me. I've seen one red come up since I've been in there, and it was a weapons offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I go in there every day. I don't know how many we have. Maybe what we ought to do is maybe track and see. But and I'm sure we do. We could ask those folks, or you can ask them when you come in there. But as soon as Sergeant Castro gets done running you for warrants, checking your status here, we'll.
Do you have any further? Okay. While we're all anxiously waiting, I think that for me, Chief, the cautionary tale is while we have a great relationship with you, and we know the type of department that we have, I think the truth of the matter is, we all, when we make policy from this position, we have to think well beyond our time here. And I don't know who the next police chief is going to be, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, how this software is going to evolve. And I think the decisions that we make, we have to look beyond just the person that's here, whom we trust, but what are the long-range implications? The troubling thing for me is that you all don't really know what they're collecting and putting in there. While I trust you, if you were able to say, hey, Oliver, this is what they do, X, Y, and Z, this is where they are pulling information from, and this is how they're determining that, you and I could have a conversation about that. It troubles me a little bit that you're not sure.
Yeah.
I know that it's proprietary for them, which I get, but if in fact they are, which is very easy to do now, dive into people's emails or read people's online, web history and web search. I know, Councilmember Brandow said, tracking purchases, maybe they are tracking micro purchases like books, right? Those types of things should certainly be contemplated, for us here for long-range implications, and that's the thing that really, raised my thought in this whole discussion.
The good thing is, if you folks are not absolutely satisfied with it, there cannot be a purchase of it. So you will have obviously the final say-so once we finalize the potential cost, et cetera. We want to make sure that you're well aware of that. Just like we did with gunshot detection. We brought it before the council, you looked at it, you understood it. Again, we've been testing this and utilizing it as a beta site for the last year. And we feel comfortable with it, but again, I understand the concerns. Hopefully,
We have Councilmember Olivier's threat level, or his address is threat level. They're going to come get you right now.
Should I run?
Leg bill.
No, we have somebody at the back door.
You know, the one thing I will say, Chief, is when they, maybe next time the representatives from Entrado are in town, it may make sense for us to talk to them, because they probably could answer some of those kind of higher level questions, or actually not higher level, the more detailed questions that we're really trying to pull out of this and figure out what they're doing.
Yes. Or when we bring it before council, we have them come in. If they want our business, then they'll provide whatever information, to include everything about how they get their data. I don't see that being unfair.
Mm-hmm. And we may figure out that there are things that we don't particularly like, and we may contract with them differently. Say, well, you know, we'd like our city to be exempt from this type of data mining, right?
Sure.
These things
Absolutely.
are off the table for us. Or maybe we don't even want the color system. I don't know, because I think the information is valuable, right? It is good to know if somebody said on Twitter yesterday that they want to shoot police officers, and it'd be good for someone to look at that before an officer goes to a call.
It really is a delicate balance, just like when we implemented video policing. I remember the debates we had in this council chamber for a long time on both sides, Republican, Democrat alike. And it's very much understood, which is why we took the time to sit down with members and write a detailed policy about the use of video cameras and when we delete footage, and all of those things are written into our policy. And that's why we have somebody, Judge Wanger, comes in and does an audit, which he's doing right now on our video policing. So that may be something we want to look at as well, tie in our Beware system to that.
Well, while we're waiting, I was going to say, it seems like I don't have any other questions of council members. I'm going to go out to unscheduled communication. Thanks, Chief. And if I have Bill Bunnell, I'm going to come down for unscheduled.
I heard the chief talking. I just happened to be here for that other meeting. But I'm one of the leaders of a convenience store association.
Can I get you to come to the lectern and state your name and address for the record?
Okay.
Thanks.
My name is Bill Bunnell. I own the Arco AMPM at Cherry and Jensen in Fresno, right off Highway 41. But I'm also the leader of, or one of the 5 leaders of a convenience store association called APCA, and also the AMPM Dealers Association for the Central Valley. And as they were talking, I just happened to be here, but about their Beware program, all the AMPMs have 16 to 32 camera systems. And like mine can zoom in on a license plate and give you a license plate. A lot of them are right at freeways or you know, the main street just off a freeway, like say Blackstone and Bullard or Blackstone and Sierra. I'm, you know, right where 2 freeways meet. But if you guys wanted to, some of our guys are already hooked up on the internet so they can view their own stores, and I'm sure, I can't imagine they wouldn't want the police to have immediate access to their own site just for their own purposes, but then if it also leverages your programs and puts a heck of a lot more cameras out there, it doesn't cost us anything. And maybe because it's doing good for the city, you guys could talk to the internet service providers and get us a good rate on high speed, because you need super high speeds to be able to upload those kind of speeds with 16, 32 cameras. Most of our guys have like 16 cameras. But I wrote a little note for the chief and for Steve to let them know. And if you guys are interested, it might save you guys a lot of money and make your program a little bit more effective, just having more eyes on the street or whatever. So that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right, here's the verdict.
Chief, do we have we need to call in extra units for Councilmember Olivier?
I know your address comes up yellow because the address will come up in the color of the person that has ever had the highest color associated with that address, if that makes sense. You come up green.
However, when you guys are writing up, my address is a yellow address, so even though it's not me that's the yellow guy, your officers are going to treat whoever comes out of that house in his boxer shorts as the yellow guy. And that may not be fair to me, because I'm a
because
green
the
guy.
officers that are rolling up
Okay.
aren't going to have that entire info that the officers in the real-time crime center have.
So how does that help the responding officer protect his or her safety if this information isn't available to them? I mean, now it's really confusing.
Okay.
Yeah. Very minimal information is provided to the officers on Beware. It's generally, if it comes up red, and then there's a why. That why is it red? Yellows are, like in your case, there's a name associated with that address. How long have you lived there?
6 months.
Okay.
So the previous person was yellow.
Yes.
Ooh, good grief.
So would the yellow stay on that address forever? Because
Yeah,
that-
how long
that
before the yellow
person-
drops off? So it's a yellow house for 7 years. Oh, that's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. These guys have got to get their act together. So I don't mean you. I mean Entrado. That's absolutely unacceptable. I mean, it should change over when that's a civil liberties problem. I don't know. I mean, to me. So I'm going to approach this with an open mind and come to your department with an open mind.
Sure.
But I mean, already the thing fails to me. It has failed right here with a council member as the example. Unacceptable. So thank you so much for your service and for checking that as well. Thank you, Chief.
And if I can add something to that?
Please.
The reason behind that is because you reside at 2004 East Terrace. Okay, but a lot of times what we'll have and what we encounter are associates. And all of this data is based on information that's been provided to someone at some time, right? So someone has used that address as their home address, et cetera. So sometimes it's important to know not just the primary person that owns the house, et cetera, but who may also be associated with that address, if that adds any clarity.
It does, and thank you. I'm just concerned there's going to be a lot of people caught up in that I don't want it to create any problems for your officers or for the residents. So thank you so much for your presentation and especially for checking that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. We will be adjourning our meeting right now. We're going to be adjourning in the memory of Frank Bennett.